The Pirate Journey of Arceus. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 776 Epidemic. I'm also very brave. Okay. Just a few minutes ago, Quinn was really furious and wanted to kill the bastard who destroyed his banana plantation, but after the battle started, he calmed down. Maybe he had lived with a group of reckless people for too long, which made him gradually reckless. This behavior is undoubtedly extremely irrational. Fortunately, he had foresight and brought Zorora here. With their abilities, they would not flee in embarrassment when facing the Admiral of the Navy. It was just that Zorora's words made him feel a little guilty. He seemed to have said that if something happened, he could retreat first and then ask for help. If he really did that. Hey, I said you wouldn't be so heartless, would you? A few drops of cold sweat flowed down his forehead. If Zorora really did that, he seemed to have no choice but to admit that he was unlucky. Although according to the information eavesdropped by the multi-spike Ammon, the world government had some murderous intentions towards him, but they still focused on capturing him alive. Unfortunately, the person who was carrying out the mission was a paranoid, and he might really be burned to ashes. Among the three current admirals of the Navy, Borsalino has the strongest pursuit ability on the sea, and Huzan has the strongest restriction ability. Sakaska's ability is not as fast as Flash, and he does not have the strong control power of ice, but it does not mean that he has no way out on the sea. He can't catch up with Zorora, but it is still no problem to stick to Quinn. Instead of talking nonsense here, why not help more in the battle? It is impossible to leave directly. Although the other two pirate ships have left the bombardment range, they are not safe yet. Zorora can now cover Quinn's retreat first. Relying on the ability to fly, as long as there is a distance, Quinn will be safe. But the people on the other two ships will suffer. There are also some agricultural experts on them. According to Arceus, they are precious talents and their safety must be protected as much as possible. A battle is inevitable after all. Zorora's fur flashed with lightning, and the lightning stored in his body entered the combat state under the mobilization of his mind, and Quinn also regained some courage. He is not alone. This is a 2-on-1. As for those ordinary Navy soldiers, Quinn didn't take them seriously at all. Although there were two major generals on the ship, who were responsible for other things, such opponents were very easy to deal with. It was just that the bullets that hit him from time to time made him quite unhappy. This is the most common thing for Navy soldiers and ordinary pirates. Even if they know that the weapons in their hands will not play a big role, they will still use this method to consume the opponent's physical strength in long-distance naval battles. Do you think I'm easy to bully? Don't forget that I'm a plague. Although he was a little cowardly, he didn't do so in action. A gun barrel stretched out from the mechanical arm, and Quinn's plague bomb was ready. He has shown more and more abilities over the years, but his nickname has never changed. On the one hand, this is the habit of the Navy. Unless some people show a completely different combat performance from before, and the battle scene is fully captured, they will consider changing their nicknames. Arceus is an example, but this situation is rare. Most people's nicknames for the first time they are awarded will follow them for life, but Quinn has a more special point. Even if he has shown a variety of abilities, his biggest impact on the outside world is still the plague bomb. In a large-scale battle, a plague bomb is a terrifying weapon that can instantly change the situation. The new toxin extracted from the stinky mud and double bomb gas has given Quinn's plague bomb several more sequences, which can deal with various special situations. However, the beasts will not use this thing easily. It has a great impact on the occupation of an island. In most cases, the use of plague bombs is considered when executing a revenge plan. The shell was fired, and a warhead with a speed much slower than conventional ammunition flew towards the deck. As long as this plague bomb was detonated, the people on the deck would become overwhelmed, but Sakaski did not let him do as he wished. Big fire. The arm evolved into a huge magma fist, grabbed Quinn's plague bomb before it detonated, and then fired it into the sky. Boom. The magma fist exploded in the sky, and the unknown components in the plague bomb were detonated, and then burned out in the air. As a naval admiral, the information of cadres like Quinn was in his mind. If that thing exploded, the soldiers on this ship would basically be scrapped. The small magma blocks that exploded were cooled by the cold air during the descent and gradually condensed into stone rain. Sakazuki also made his own move. He had come to Quinn's front while Quinn was releasing the plague bomb. Dog bites Red Lotus. A large amount of magma gushed out from the front of his arm, and the magma in the shape of a hellhound bit Quinn. Compared with the more flexible Zerora, he still took Quinn as the main target of attack. First, he was the target mentioned in the mission, and second, his plague bomb was too troublesome. Although Sakazuki had just protected the Navy soldiers, he would not give up the opportunity to act for the safety of the soldiers. He knew very well that the people on the ship were no match for Zerora. If Zerora attacked those soldiers at this time, the people on the ship would have almost no ability to resist. But he was also confident that Quinn alone was not his opponent. If Zerora did this, he would use the soldiers to buy time to deal with Quinn as soon as possible. This was a death he could accept. If Zerora came to help Quinn, the soldiers on the ship would be safe, and they could continue to chase the fleeing pirate ships. After all, they could not interfere with the Battle of the Admirals. In the sky, there was a lack of leverage points, and the huge force forced Quinn to retreat continuously. Sakazuki was a natural ability user, but he was also a monster who could wrestle with Whitebird. Even if Whitebird was seriously ill and injured, the strange power of the Tremor fruit was enough to kill an adult giant in seconds. Quinn's size was not enough for him to overcome this. Zerora did not pay attention to those warships. Without a canoe, the people on the ship were enough to deal with them. He turned around and flew in the direction of Quinn and Sakazuki. Mahahaha, the admirals of the Navy are just like this. Compared with Brother Kaido, your strength is much worse. On the island, 2 deep gullies were drawn under Quinn's feet, and he was forced from the sky to the ground. With a more solid leverage point, he finally took Sakazuki's attack. The fire on the island came into his eyes, and he could see the crushed banana trees at his feet. Even though his opponent was the Admiral of the Navy, the rage of the footy still made him regain his courage. Although there were a few more burnt holes on his arm, it was just a minor injury to him. The power of the dog bite Red Lotus was stronger than that of the Dark Dog. If he used his left arm to block it, the damage he suffered would be much less, but he did not do so, because he was planning how to fight back. Chapter 777 The Devil's Grace. Capstan Strike. He has similar skills to Germa, but neither lightning nor sparks have any effect on natural ability users. The brute force brought by the Capstan Green can play a certain role. His left arm was entangled with domineering aura. In the previous battle, he chose to use his right arm to resist Sakazuki's attack. Logically, using a mechanized left arm is the best solution, but he did not do so. When resisting the Hades dog before, the outer metal had melted to a certain extent. If he continued to do so, the driving parts in the mechanical hand might be damaged, so he used the right arm that had not undergone transformation to resist. The unfolded mechanical arm grabbed towards Sakazuki, and the enlarged steel claw danced with a sound of breaking through the air. The claws covered with domineering aura began to operate under the operation of hybrid power. Through human body transformation, these mechanical arms have long become part of Quinn's body. Even if he does not feel pain, he can receive feedback. This attack did not achieve the expected effect, and the joints of the mechanical arms also made a creaking sound. Relying on his own physique, Sakazuki directly blocked Quinn's mechanical arm. Lava was also oozing out of his body, and bursts of black smoke were spreading from Quinn's mechanical arm to the surroundings. Facing such an opponent, Quinn was also very difficult to deal with. He had a lot of equipment on him, but the attacks of those equipment had no effect on natural ability users. Whether it was the fragments of the explosion or the single element attack, they had no effect on the magma. These technological weapons were crushing when facing ordinary weapons, but there were also disadvantages. Quinn could not add domineering power to the invisible objects such as lightning or lasers released. Even the skills of the tropical dragon were difficult to have an effect on lava. Akainu was his most difficult opponent. After all, he was the only admiral in the war on the top who did not play a fake match. After being beaten into the ground by Whitebird, he could still make other captains helpless. It was a considerable improvement that Quinn could wrestle with him now, but it didn't matter. He was not the main force to deal with Sakazuki. Now he just needed to be beaten. His right fist, wrapped in domineering aura, smashed towards Sakazuki, but Sakazuki's focus was not on this at all. The thunderous sound resounding in his ears was even more dangerous. Boom. Quinn's fist hit the ground. Sakazuki's body just now completely turned into lava, and he got rid of the wrestling with Quinn directly, gathered to the side along the dents on the ground, and reassembled into his own body. Relatively speaking, Zeraora's attack also missed. Fast speed does not mean invincibility, otherwise Borsalino would have been invincible long ago. With the help of the prediction of observation haki, Sakazuki successfully avoided Zeraora's attack. However, although fast speed does not mean invincibility, it means a faster attack frequency. When Sakazuki's body just gathered, Zeraora kicked him in the head. With the help of domineering aura, he attacked Sakazuki's entity and relied on his own speed to avoid the opponent's counterattack. After his fists were filled with lightning, he launched a new round of attacks. At this time, he was surrounded by lightning and had entered the additional state of the plasma lightning fist. Unlike Quinn, who was slightly suppressed before, the battle between the two could not tell the result for a while. Zeraora was extremely fast, and most of Akanu's counterattacks were evaded by him, and a small number of unavoidable attacks were also resisted by the guards. In contrast, the effect of Zeraora's attack was not obvious. Sakazuki's domineering and physique were very strong. Relying on his extraordinary physical fitness, he only had some blood on the corners of his mouth. Well done. Hit him. Hit his face. Don't order me. Don't stand there stupidly. Hey, here you come. It's not easy to make such a big noise. Quinn gave verbal encouragement on the side, but was then scolded. If this was Arceus' order, Zeraora would have no complaints, even if he fought to the death. But he was only called out by Quinn to help. If it weren't for Quinn's mess, he should be at home playing with his children and accompanying his wife instead of fighting here. It was impossible for Quinn to command him. He came only because of the friendship of companion. If this was not a battle, he would definitely take time to fight with Quinn. Quinn was not a fool. He did not stand there and watch the show. Although he did not make any big moves, the things he prepared had arrived. Boom. The sky was covered by dark clouds, and the sky above the entire island was full of thunderclouds. This was the result of Quinn's just now. The large-scale prayer for rain had turned the entire island into a rainy day. Due to Sakazuki's attack, the island had already turned into a sea of fire. The large amount of hot air rose, making it easier to gather rain clouds. Otherwise, Quinn really couldn't make the range of the prayer for rain so large. This kind of weather was not suitable for his battle, but it was very suitable for Zeraora, and the subsequent heavy rain also weakened Sakazuki's magma. The heavy rain poured down, but the flames were not extinguished immediately. The initial rain evaporated when it entered the fire scene, and a large amount of water vapor almost filled the entire island. Through this layer of smoke, you can see the red magma and the yellow thunder constantly interweaving, while Quinn is interfering with firepower in the distance to help Zeraora delay the opponent's pace. Boom. Sizzle. The clouds rolled, and a large amount of lightning swept down, and Zeraora temporarily withdrew from the battle. The others have almost retreated to a safe place. This guy's not easy to deal with. We can't tell the winner, even if we fight like this for a few more days. The battle lasted for half a day. Zeraora's fur had some burnt marks, and Sakazuki's suit also looked extremely tattered, but the condition of the two was not too bad. This battle will not get any results for a while. It is difficult for Sakazuki to defeat both of them at the same time, and the two of them have no way to defeat each other quickly. Quinn's body is not injured now. Through self-regeneration, the scars on his right arm have recovered, but the mechanical hand on his left arm is temporarily scrapped. Zeraora is also using lightning to replenish his physical strength. If we delay any longer, the battle may have to be expanded. It's not the right time yet. It's a pity for my banana plantation. Anyway, it's like this. I might as well give him a big gift. Quinn took out the devil fruit from somewhere. What do you want to do? A move that Lord Arceus taught me is called Nature's Grace. The power of that move is completely dependent on the fruit I carry. The devil fruit is also a fruit. Guess what the effect of using this to activate Nature's Grace is? Chapter 778, The Liberated Demon. Looking at the devil fruit in Quinn's hand, Zerora did not guess the result, but remembered another thing. I remember that during the previous position changing battle, someone reported that a devil fruit in the spoils was missing, and in the end, no one figured out where it went. Could it be that you took it for experiments? Ahem. Don't worry about that detail. Anyway, this move is very powerful. If the island hadn't been ruined, I wouldn't want to use it. Looking at the devastated plantation, Quinn's heart was very complicated. Sakaski's meteor volcano caused serious damage to the island, and the subsequent lightning caused the island to collapse further. Now the ground of the island is full of potholes. Forget about growing bananas. You can even take a hot spring bath directly. Use it when you need to. What are you hesitating about? The natural grace activated by it is different from the ordinary natural grace. It consumes a lot of physical strength, and it is a bit difficult to hit. You have to find a way to help me limit him. Use that. I'm afraid of the ability users who are in trouble, so I prepared it for you. Just stab him with a knife, and the stiffness will be enough. As he said that, Quinn began to enter the activation state of the move. At this time, the thunder released by Zerora had also ended. What Sakaski saw was Quinn holding a devil fruit and starting to become thin. Releasing skills requires consuming one's own physical strength. Devil fruits are not tree fruits. It's just that Arceus's power allows the tropical dragon and the brachiosaur fruit to be combined and finally develop this new use. The cost is extremely consuming. Almost all of his accumulated energy is used to release this move. Seeing Quinn preparing a new big move, Zerora didn't waste any words and took out the ordinary dagger. Seaston weapons are indeed the nemesis of ability users, but they can only be used for surprise attacks. Once the opponent is on guard, it will be difficult to make it work again. People with strong enough strength can also have stronger tolerance. Seaston can temporarily make them unable to use their abilities or lose some strength, but it will not paralyze them directly. Charlotte Linlin was tied up like a dumpling by high purity Seaston chains, but she did not collapse directly. If Seaston is really a divine weapon, it would be enough to let ordinary soldiers carry more Seaston during the war at the top and find opportunities to attack Whitebird. Its biggest highlight is that Ghost Spider took advantage of Marco's inattention and used Seaston handcuffs to trick him. In the previous battle, Zerora had never used the dagger, and Sakaski was not alert to this matter, but in the new round of battle, he felt a fatal crisis. Originally, Zerora was aiming at his heart. Sakaski, who noticed the abnormality, did not choose to defend with armed color, but quickly evaded. However, he was much inferior in speed, and Zerora's dagger still pierced his shoulder. Then he quickly dodged backwards. The insertion of the Seaston dagger made Sakaski's body tremble suddenly, but he still resisted the discomfort and pulled out the dagger. If Zerora wanted to keep it in the opponent's body for a long time, he couldn't let go, but then he would lose his flexibility. He was no match for Sakaski in a head-on confrontation. Although he could cause considerable damage during this period of weakness, it was not fatal. If he was caught, he would be at a disadvantage in the subsequent battles. A purple light wrapped in the almost melted fruit hit Sakaski, and Zerora returned to a safe distance again. Looking at Quinn, who had released the moves, Zerora was now convinced that Quinn's words, that he was very charming when he lost weight, were nonsense, or it might be because he was too thin now. Your move consumes so much energy. It's okay, just eat 2 good meals, you magma bastard. Experience the wrath of this master. Although his tone was a little weak, one could still hear the boasting in his words, but after he finished speaking, there was only a very ordinary explosion under Sakaski's feet, and the power was even less than that of an ordinary artillery shell. Are you kidding me? Looking at Quinn's thunderous but ineffective move, Zerora didn't know how to evaluate him, but Quinn was very calm. Don't worry, this thing needs some preparation, and it's almost done now. Bang! A giant scorpion with a body size of more than 20 meters suddenly appeared near Sakaski and waved its chelicera at Sakaski without saying a word. Animal type bug fruit scorpion form. This is a type of fruit used by Quinn, and the effect of his nature's grace can be understood as liberation. At present, he has only used animal type fruits for experiments because they are very special. The animal type fruit hosts the consciousness of wild beasts, and Quinn liberated this consciousness. This is also the reason why his physical strength was almost drained. The action of the fruit requires a carrier, and the user's physical strength becomes the best option. The natural grace released by the animal type devil fruit is equivalent to an awakened animal type ability user out of thin air. The giant scorpion seemed to have locked Sakazuki as an enemy and smashed him with its pincers. Sakazuki did not take the attack of such a large beast seriously, but the next moment, his body failed to transform smoothly. What the hell is this? When he was puzzled, Zerora also asked a similar question. I don't know either, but the devil fruit hosts the devil. My behavior is equivalent to liberating the devil in the fruit. It is reasonable for the devil to fight against the devil and not abide by our rules. This is the answer given by Quinn, and it is also the reason why the scorpion can attack Sakazuki's body. This move has 3 stages. The first is locking. The person hit by my attack will be regarded as a target. Now is the second stage. The host demon will deal with its own enemy. Unfortunately, this move is too laborious and too expensive. Since discovering this move, Quinn has only tried it once. Because this move is a one-time move, each use will consume a devil fruit. The consumed devil fruit cannot be reproduced. It will only be randomly reborn in a corner of the sea, which is equivalent to a cannonball of 100 million Baileys. And it takes a lot of physical strength to activate it, which will drain him every time. Okay, now we should leave, and let this guy worry about it himself. I don't think your fighting power can last for long. Although the scorpion can attack Sakazuki's body, it only relies on the instinct of the beast to fight, and there is no outstanding result. Don't hold on for too long. Didn't I say that this thing has 3 stages? Once the power to maintain it is exhausted, this thing will explode. Chapter 779, Rounding Off. Admiral Quinn. Hell dog. Sakazuki's body was covered by magma. His fist turned into a vicious dog and hit the huge scorpion in front of him. The carapace on his body did not protect him well. In just a moment, the scorpion's shell was pierced by the magma. A burning smell came out. The giant scorpion roared and waved its pincers at Sakazuki. After suffering a loss, he chose to dodge. The pincer smashed a big hole in the ground. The wound pierced by Sakazuki did not make the scorpion lose its combat effectiveness. Due to Quinn's liberation of it, it already has the effect of awakening an animal type ability user, unparalleled recovery ability. In particular, it is not hosted in a certain person's body. Strictly speaking, it is a creature without entity. It just temporarily owns this body with the physical strength provided by Quinn. Its recovery ability is stronger than that of ordinary ability users. Has that guy's research on devil fruits reached this point? Seeing is believing. Sakazuki saw with his own eyes how Quinn summoned this scorpion. He clearly saw that a devil fruit became like this after Quinn used it, and for some reason, it could actually hurt the body of a natural type. This thing did not scare him. Since ordinary attacks did not have any effect, he would prepare a more powerful move. Sakazuki stomped on the ground, and a large amount of magma gushed out of his body, and then disappeared into the island. On the other side, Quinn was also admiring his results. He didn't know what effect this move would achieve, and whether the harvesting characteristics could allow the used devil fruit to reincarnate in other fruits on his body, because the cost of the experiment was too high. The last experiment directly used up a devil fruit. Although ordinary animal type fruits are relatively cheap, they are also secret treasures in the sea, and they may not always be bought with money. Scientific research is even more expensive than war. After winning a war, you can get spoils, but scientific research is not necessarily. No matter how much you invest, you must be prepared to waste money. No one can judge the result until the last moment of the experiment. The minimum cost of an experiment is 100 million Baileys, and this is the result after conversion. The effect of a fruit is often not measurable by money. Even if the beast family is big and powerful, it cannot afford the loss of this experiment for the time being. You really found something incredible. What about the superhuman and natural fruits? I don't know. I remember I told you that the animal fruits are the most special. They have special wills, so I made similar attempts. The superhuman fruits are rarer and the effects are unknown. I haven't done any experiments. As for the natural fruits, we haven't collected this kind of fruit in all these years. Quinn did not keep his own experimental results, and there was no need to hide anything from Zerora. He just cited the rarity of the natural fruits. After so many years, no trace of similar fruits has been found through various channels. Almost done, Zerora. Stay away from here. You will see the third stage soon. Help me, I can't fly now. With the help of Zerora, Quinn and Tim began to move away from the island. Logically, Sakazuki should choose to ignore the monster scorpion and deal with Quinn or Zerora first, but for some reason, something hated the scorpion in front of him. It even slightly affected his judgment, making him decide to kill the monster scorpion first. Hellfire. The land cracked inch by inch, and several wide cracks surrounded the monster scorpion. Magma gushed out from the ground like a fountain, and in an instant, surrounded and submerged the giant scorpion. Sakazuki discovered that there was a space like a dark river under the island. Just now, Sakazuki injected a large amount of magma into the underground space. As he continued to inject, the pressure below also increased. Before reaching the limit, Sakazuki broke a gap and guided the magma to appear. This is the advantage of natural ability users. Most element can easily change the terrain and carry out large-scale indiscriminate attacks. The scorpion's shell turned red under the burning of the magma, and Sakazuki's body gradually condensed in the magma. He was the magma, and the magma could not cause him any harm. Instead, he could move freely in the magma. Dog bites red lotus. The right arm penetrated the giant scorpion's abdomen, and a large amount of magma was continuously injected into the giant scorpion's body. Under this series of fierce attacks, the giant scorpion's body began to limp and finally collapsed into the lava. But it was not burned into charcoal by the hot magma like ordinary creatures, but it burst into a strange white light. Boom. The third stage, explosion. A huge mushroom cloud rose into the sky, and a powerful shockwave swept every inch of land on the island. The original remaining buildings were wiped out by the baptism of the shockwave. This explosion was the essence of the attack of nature's grace. The powerful skills launched with the conditions of the devil fruit have reached the extreme in terms of power. It can be said that this time, nature's grace has brought the power of the explosion directly to the 2.0 era of the version update. On the sea breeze swept by the explosion blew Zerora's fur. Quinn also saw his masterpiece. This is why he asked Zerora to leave quickly. This explosion does not distinguish between enemies and friends. If he is affected, he will not feel good. In the last experiment, he did not use all his physical strength and directly blow up the experimental site. Looking at the full-powered natural grace, Quinn has revealed an arrogant smile. Mahaha, you are worthy of being my uncle. After such an explosion, there should be nothing left on the island. Well, nothing is left. Some people laughed and cried. Thinking of the bananas on the island that were about to bear fruit, they couldn't help but feel a pang of pain in their hearts. The joy brought by the explosion has disappeared. As for going back to check the results, he didn't want to do so. Now they have successfully escaped. After all, Sakazuki is the top combat power of the Navy. Quinn doesn't think such a person will be directly blown to death. Not everyone is called Ashura Boy. The sadness didn't last long. He thought about how he and Zerora could deal with the Admiral. He couldn't help but have hope for the future. It seemed that he was too cautious before. He was still very strong. These were all Quinn's inner thoughts. In Zerora's view, Quinn was like a madman, laughing and crying at the same time. No one knew what he was thinking. How about I give you a message to calm you down? What? You helped the master share a lot of pressure before, but now you are not taking the blame. Chapter 780, Explosive Wolf Speaks, Self-Proof. Plague Queen, most of the bounties come from the man who made the pot. Zerora also admitted this. When Arceus did not want to attract attention, Queen's identity attracted most of the firepower. Therefore, when Queen sought help, he came. Even if he did not agree with him verbally, he helped him a lot in action. In the beast, emotional out of control is not uncommon. Drunk Kaido basically cycles between joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness irregularly, so Zerora is used to it. Even if it was Queen who did it, he wanted to help him return to normal as soon as possible. After all, no one has used that kind of weird move. It would be bad if people really went crazy. He was imagining something strange at a glance. In this case, he had to face a reality. Listening to Zerora's words, Queen blinked his eyes slightly dully and then thought of some very bad things. What did you just say? I said you used that move in front of the Admiral of the Navy. Isn't that confessing yourself? Everyone was having a happy werewolf fight. The Navy and the world government believed that one of Arceus and Quinn must be a wolf, or both of them are werewolves, but there was no evidence, so everyone put on their clothes. But in his speech just now, Quinn made a wolf explosion speech. I'm a good person. I stabbed him last night. To be more precise, he directly pressed the self-destruct button. Hey, are you okay? Zerora and Quinn are very different in size, so he had to pat the other's head to try to get a response from Quinn. Did I do anything too much? No, I just used the natural grace of the devil fruit in front of a Kaido. Of course, they don't understand what natural grace is. They probably think you have mastered the technology of fruit revitalization. After all, it looks very similar. Tell me, is there a possibility that the mad dog is dazzled, or they don't think about it in this way? What do you think? I don't want to be like this, really. It's all because of that bastard. Quinn's right hand was on his face. The prosthesis of his left arm had been scrapped in the battle, and it was probably disappeared in the battle at this moment. There was only one reason why he fought so hard and didn't consider the consequences. He was too excited. Originally, he received the news that Banana Garden was critically ill, and he was in a low mood and worried about what he might encounter when he went out. After making the antidote, he thought that Banana Garden had been saved, but Akainu came out again. Losing, having, and then watching them go away. For a foodie, this has already shattered his bottom line, so he used his strongest move without thinking. Without this, relying on praying for rain and thunderstorms, the two of them can always leave after spending some time. Hey, can you light a cigarette for me? Quinn took out a cigar and put it in his mouth, but his mechanical arm was damaged and he couldn't find the lighter for a while. Looking at Quinn with a deep face, Zerora used electric sparks to light his cigar, and Quinn also fell into a state of thinking about life. The pot was still in Scrodina state before. Whether it was on him or not depended on the ideas of the intelligence departments of the Navy, which could change at any time, but at this moment, he successfully turned the pot into a part of his body, and it was completely his own initiative. In the end, he still failed to save his banana plantation. From this point of view, this trip out was meaningless. And in the place where the battle just happened, the original island has become a wasteland. The lush vegetation has completely disappeared, leaving only a thick layer of floating soil. The center of the explosion has formed a lake, but it is a lava lake. Magma is constantly gushing out from the ground and gradually condensing into the shape of Sakazuki. Since he ate the magma fruit, he has not felt the power of the explosion for a long time. Sakazuki did not resist forcefully, but took advantage of the impact of the explosion and entered the underground along the magma, thereby avoiding a lot of damage. But the power of the explosion was too great, and it took him a long time to condense his body again. Ahem. After wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth and calming down his internal ki and blood, Sakazuki looked at his right hand. When he used the dog-biting red lotus before, his right arm pierced into the body of the strange scorpion, and was also the most affected by the explosion. The front part has turned black and red. However, this is not magma, but the color of flesh and blood. If it were an ordinary person, this degree of burn would inevitably lead to severe infection and eventual death. But for these people with monster-like physiques, it is just a flesh wound. Stop the pursuit and come back. The death of the soldiers must have its own value. Quinn and Zerora have probably returned. It is hard to say how much combat power Quinn has left in that state, but Zerora is different. The people on the ship can't deal with him, and there is no point in entanglement. Moreover, this is the territory of the pirates. If it drags on, it will soon lead to a full-scale war. The world government will not allow such a thing to happen. He failed to keep Quinn, which means that the battle has failed, and this mission is over. Admiral Sakazuki, your wounds have been treated. You only need to rest for a few days. It will not affect your life in the future. Well, go back. At this time, his shoulders and arms have been bandaged. Most of the injuries in the battle are not serious. It's just that Zerora's sneak attack with Seaston and the subsequent explosion caused a lot of trouble. After letting the medical soldier leave, Sakazuki took out his Denden Mushi. Hello, Marshal Sengoku. This is Sakazuki. The mission failed. Failed? At the Navy headquarters, Sengoku was surprised when he received the call. This operation had been planned for a long time. In order not to expose it too early, they did not send too many people. He thought that one general was enough to handle this problem. He thought that Sakazuki might overdo it, but he did not expect that he would fail. Well, it was lightning and plague. The speed of lightning is very troublesome. It temporarily delayed me. It's not a big deal for one person, but that Quinn used an unprecedented method. I will report the details when I return to the headquarters. Hurry back. The two did not waste time on this matter. At this time, Sakazuki's warship looked very dilapidated, even the main gun was damaged. Such a warship is easy to attract attacks in the waters of the New World. After dealing with a few blind pirates, Sakazuki has returned to the Navy headquarters and explained what he saw. You mean, he resurrected a devil fruit? I saw it with my own eyes. Chapter 781, A small meeting of the Navy, a headache. Sakazuki tore off the bandage on his hand. According to the ship's doctor's prediction, his hand should have healed by now, but the reality was not the case. The wound healed much slower than expected. There was some mysterious power interfering with the self-healing of his wound. According to the scientific forces, that guy should have really achieved the technology of revitalizing the devil fruit. The fruit turned into a scorpion after he threw it out. It feels very similar to an awakened animal type ability user, and I don't know why that thing can attack my body, and elementalization seems to have no effect on it. Then how did you hurt your hand? The office of the headquarters was full of high-ranking naval officers. Even the ones serving tea and water were major generals, and the vice admirals had to stand in the back and listen here. Crane, Sengoku, Sakazuki, Kyuzen, and Garp formed the main body of the meeting, as well as several people's confidants and Sengoku's goat. There was no need to publicize the news of Sakazuki's injury on a large scale, as that would affect the morale of the army. That thing will explode. I avoided the main damage underground, but the arm that was directly in contact was greatly affected. Devil fruit. Sakazuki, you said that you couldn't help, but want to deal with the scorpion first, is that right? That's right. Let's assume that the fruit is a scorpion fruit of the animal system, and Quinn released it. It is the essence of the devil fruit, so it will produce this effect. Isn't this more reasonable? Crane gave the result of her own analysis. This is the most practical reason she can think of. Devil fruits have too many mysteries, and even Vegapunk only put forward his own hypothesis. So Crane analyzed the new results, based on the information brought back by Akainu. No, if that's the case, why couldn't Kaido's magic dragon Hydra attack my entity during the G1 incident? Kyuzen raised objections. The 8-headed dragon and the strange scorpion created by Quinn have a certain connection, but the 8-headed dragon failed to solve his natural body, and was even injured. It's different. According to Sakazuki, the scorpion was completely transformed from a devil fruit, but the strange dragon might be some creature that ate the fruit. Vegapunk is not 100% sure that the evil dragon is a devil fruit, but they just said that the content is higher. They are related, but different. At least the dragon won't explode, but this is also good news. People will use what they can understand to explain what they see. This is what Crane has thought of for the time being, and it makes sense overall. As for studying the root cause, that is what the scientific force should do, not her job as a chief of staff. All she wants to analyze is the impact of this incident on the Navy. Good news? Crane, you won't be infected by that bastard Garp, right? Listening to Crane's slightly outrageous words, Sengoku felt that his head was starting to hurt again. First of all, we can be sure that the use of this ability is extremely physically demanding. If even Quinn will become thinner, then ordinary pirates cannot use it, and it is not universal. The subsequent explosion means that it will consume the devil fruit. Even if it is 100 beasts, how many devil fruits can they find? Although the explosion is very powerful, if it cannot be popularized, the impact will be limited. Sakazuki was attacked by Seaston first and then hit, which shows that the hit rate is not high. According to his reaction, this attack seems to be specifically aimed at people with abilities. It should have certain limitations. It is a trouble, but it is still within the acceptable range. Compared with this, Sengoku, you should be worried about another problem. What trouble? The accountability letter from the world government. To be precise, it is the accountability letter from some celestial dragons. Standing at the top of power and enjoying endless wealth, the celestial dragons live a life of luxury every day. Wine and meat are the real norm for them. Their desires are manifested in different ways. Some like to collect alien slaves, some like to search for women, collect stones, and some delicious celestial dragons. Many of the products of the 100 Beasts fruit were positioned for the high-end market from the beginning, and the celestial dragons were naturally included. The damage to the banana plantation was an irreversible thing, but this time, Quinn's share was not reduced. He was a victim. In order to vent for the victim, some of the celestial dragon's shares disappeared directly. Due to force majeure, the noble banana plantation built specifically for you was destroyed in the attack of the Navy. We are unable to provide you with delicious food this year. The quality of food in other areas is not worthy of your noble status. Please forgive us. This was the rhetoric prepared by Tesoro. He had already mastered the temperament of those celestial dragons and knew how to communicate with this group of people. And the result was that the accountability letter came to the Navy. In order to uphold justice and protect the sea, the celestial dragons were not interested in such things. They only cared about themselves. Due to the actions of the Navy, the banana plantation was destroyed. They were very unhappy, so a group of celestial dragons jointly protested. If the Navy had achieved results, the world government would not have said anything, but they failed. In order to make these celestial dragons quiet down, the world government chose to trade the Navy's face, and this turned into a specific policy, which meant that Sengoku had to go to Mirijoa to be lectured again. These bastards, scumbags, borers of the sea, just say what you want to say, why should you endure it? Garp. You can't say that casually, just pretend you didn't hear it. Sengoku, who was angry with the celestial dragons, couldn't help complaining, but he only complained in his heart. But Garp said those words directly, even if this was something the higher ranking officers of the Navy knew very well. Only Garp dared to be so presumptuous. Okay, let's talk about those headaches later. What do you think about the bounty, Sakazuki? As a participant in this conflict, Sakazuki's suggestions are more referenceable. If we ignore those external forces, the threat of lightning is much greater than that of plague. It's just that the guy's technology is a problem, but in a one-on-one situation, they will not pose a threat. I understand. I'll report it like this. This level of bounty is still finalized by the world government. The Navy will only provide reference opinions. In the end, 2 new bounties came to the sea with the news bird. Plague Quinn bounty of 2.7 billion baileys, extremely dangerous. Only a live lightning's aurora bounty of 1.27 billion baileys. It is extremely rare for the Sea Emperor to be able to fight with the Admiral for a period of time without being defeated and retreating unscathed. This directly increased Zorora's bounty by 500 million, but compared to Zorora, Quinn is still more eye-catching. Especially in Punk Hazard, Caesar Killung's expression when looking at the bounty order has become gnashing of teeth. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 782, but Akainu said so. 2.7 billion. This number is already a very scary number. Among the pirates still active on the sea, the number of pirates with bounties exceeding this amount can be counted on 2 hands. Even in the Beast's pirates, only Kaido with 4.677 billion and Arceus with 3.08 billion exceeded this amount. Only the captains of other pirate groups have such a terrifying bounty. The red hair pirates are slightly special, and Beckman's bounty is much higher than that of other cadres. Even if all the remnants of the Rocks era are pulled out, plus those retired monsters, this bounty is enough to rank among the top. Moreover, the world government has specially marked it as extremely dangerous, which has already reflected the importance of the world government to it. Coupled with the unchanging only alive, he now suspects that if Quinn surrenders, the world government will not hesitate to throw him aside as the second in command. Let him take his place. It can be estimated by looking at the results of experiments over the years. Caesar failed in the human giantization experiment. Quinn created a terrifying war monster and has successfully applied it in actual combat and even added bloodline factor technology. Caesar failed in the devil fruit replication experiment. Quinn is currently suspected of mastering the strange technology of devil fruit resurrection, and this suspicion seems to have been confirmed recently. In the bloodline factor experiment, Caesar has not performed well at present, while Quinn copied all of Judge's technology, and the previous devil fruit experiment was also inseparable from the bloodline factor. Even his best weapons of mass destruction are now compared to him, or in other words, Quinn has never lost to him in this regard. In contrast, Caesar suddenly felt that he had become a waste. The two have known each other for too long, and they are obviously the same. When they fought, they were evenly matched. How come Quinn suddenly became a top scientist and could even hurt the Admiral of the Navy? There is no need to question the two-color domineering of the Admiral level strongman. Facing a natural ability user who is proficient in observation, it is basically hellish to want to hurt him, not to mention the special injuries that are difficult to recover. I tell you, there must be something wrong with your intelligence department. That guy Quinn can't do this. He doesn't have that kind of ability. Humans can't make his brain soar in just a few years, unless that guy saw a god. Before the accident, Caesar still had some face here, and he also established a kind persona for himself. Although he seemed a little neurotic, since Quinn began to appear frequently, the researchers and soldiers here still respected him. But this is what Admiral Sakaski saw with his own eyes, not the speculation of the intelligence department. Eyes can be deceiving. The point is, Quinn can't do this, understand? But that's Admiral Sakaski. Why can't I explain it to you clearly? The problem is not Akainu, it's Quinn. I know what you mean, but this intelligence was obtained by Admiral Sakaski through combat during the mission. Caesar felt that something was knocking on his head, and he had a headache for no reason. The three admirals were the pillars of the Navy, and their influence on the Navy was far-reaching. Especially since Sakaski is the most strict military disciplined person and never jokes. He is not a liar. What Akainu said must be true, and no one in the Navy has questioned it, so the information has been unanimously recognized. Vegapunk doesn't care who owns the technology, but thinks it is a great breakthrough. If the mystery of the devil fruit can be further revealed, it may allow eternal energy to appear in this world. He is obsessed with research, and doesn't care about the outside world. He just added a new plan to his list of plans. Only Caesar insisted on his original cognition, thinking that everyone has been fooled now. Everyone is drunk, and I'm sober. Only he is still in a rational state. Sooner or later, you will regret it. Seeing that he couldn't make sense with these people, Caesar simply turned around and returned to his laboratory. 3 people make a tiger. After everyone insisted on one view, he also slightly doubted his own thinking, but the inherent cognition made him reaffirm his belief and made a new decision. If Quinn can do it, there is no reason why he can't do it. He also wants to conduct a new experiment. The first step is to write an application to trick the world government into granting him some new funds. The cost of eating, drinking and having fun is still quite high, and it would be a bit insufficient if he did not apply for some new funds. He is not the kind of person like Vegapunk. Like Quinn, he is a hedonist. It is impossible for him to use all the funds for research. At the same time, other people have different reactions. Mom, why did dad suddenly become thinner? My silly son, that's not your dad. This is your dad. A pirate ship is full of broken limbs and arms. A man who doesn't look very smart is holding a bounty order to compare the difference, while the short woman in front of him is holding up another bounty order belonging to Whitebird. Oh, this is more like it. Mom, shall we go find dad now? No, my silly son, it's still a little early. The woman stuffed the newspaper into her coat, then walked into the cabin and began to search for treasures. On the other side, Vinsmoke Judge, also an old colleague of Quinn, was also researching something new. Ever since he saw the power of Genesect, he had the idea of mecha in his mind. Even though biological weapons continued to appear, he did not change his main direction. He was originally following the development route of combining bloodline factors, machinery, and biology. At this time, a clone soldier was manipulating a seemingly bulky mecha to transform, but it failed halfway through, and the soldier was stuck inside. Father, we still failed. That metal is too rare, and it cannot be decomposed and refined by conventional means. Our extraction efficiency is very low, and a lot of materials will be wasted. Even if it is only used as the material for some core parts, it consumes a huge amount of money. Ryuja looked at the failed experiment and told Judge the facts in a very calm manner. The metal she mentioned was Arceus steel. As Arceus' ability became stronger and stronger, this ordinary creation became simpler and simpler. Onigashima now has a warehouse full of Arceus steel. In addition to using it for their own use, they also dissolved it and mixed it with other metals and used the degraded version of the metal as a special military product in exchange for a large amount of funds. However, this metal can be seen everywhere in Onigashima, and it is even the metal of some Pokemon snacks, but it is very rare in the outside world. Chapter 783. If God wants to destroy someone, he must first make him crazy. If it is an ordinary industry, such as casting a gun barrel or acting as a house frame, it is not complicated, just more expensive, but these metals are also valuable. However, some people with strong technical ability have discovered the unique role of this metal. They can realize many fantastic ideas, so the purity of the external version is not enough, such as the transformable combined mecha envisioned by Judge. In order to complete that idea, there are great requirements for the material of the metal. Before the advent of Wabo metal, Arceus steel had no substitute. Even if it came out, it could only replace Arceus steel in some areas. The general purity is not enough, so he can only buy a large amount and then purify it. Although there are certain results, the price paid is extremely high. He did not intend to update the equipment for the clones. Those clones were produced as consumables. Instead of giving them expensive equipment, it is better to give them a powerful bomb to self-destruct. It's just that the upgraded equipment he designed for his children and himself has made a breakthrough in technology after years of hard work. As long as the material is solved, there is still hope to achieve it. Money. Vegapunk and Caesar now rely on the world government, and Quinn has the beast fruit behind them. They are not short of funds. Logically, Germa 66 also has sufficient funds, but their sources of money are plundering and war mercenaries. Compared with those who have a stable source of business, it is much worse. The large amount of investment makes Judge feel a little short of money. Coincidentally, at this time, his subordinates also brought today's newspaper. General, the latest news. 2.5 billion. Is this guy worth so much? Unlike Caesar, Judge's current focus is on money. The essence of Germa 66 is a large bounty hunter group. As long as the price is right, they will accept most tasks. Moreover, they are one of the member states of the world government and have the right to participate in the World Conference. As a member state, it is reasonable to catch pirates. However, if the target is Quinn, he is just tempted by the amount and has no such idea. Even if he can catch him, he will never get those metals in the future. The Arceus steel that has been released in the world is a strange metal called God steel in the outside world. Now its status is a treasure tree atom in the metal world, and it has become a dream material. If something happens to Quinn, it is foreseeable what changes will happen in the market. Even the Navy has adjusted some policies because of Quinn's problem. At present, it seems that even with helpers, the headquarters admiral may not be able to quickly deal with Quinn. In this case, it means that if you want to target Quinn, you need to gather stronger forces, and the situation in the sea does not allow this for the time being. The complaint letter from the Celestial Dragons is also one aspect. These people actually asked that when arresting Quinn, other businesses should not be affected, and the world government also agreed to this request. In the eyes of the world government, they only think that the other party is troublesome, but it is not to the point where it must be eliminated, so it continues to maintain the original state without adding any strength. In this case, it is even less likely that Judge will take the initiative to provoke a Sea Emperor. He still knows the gap in strength between the two sides. Among other forces, most people do not understand any technology, but are shocked by Quinn's exaggerated bounty and extremely dangerous signs. The Navy did not indicate that Sakazuki was injured, and they could only secretly guess how powerful Quinn is. Doflamingo was affirming the importance of his cooperation. Crocodile was still doing archaeology. Moria was collecting shadows and forming zombies in the Devil's Triangle. And the New World was as restless as ever. As the center of public opinion, Quinn had returned to Wano country. Quinn. Come out. What you said about no danger is fighting with the headquarters admiral. He had been back to his laboratory for less than half an hour when Setsuna came to the door. She didn't know what was happening outside, but she could see the newspaper. Before Zerora and Quinn came back, she saw the report of the world government. Even if the world government only reported part of it, she could guess what happened, which was too different from what Quinn said about no danger. Zerora came back not long ago, which meant that Quinn had also returned to Wano country, so she came to ask for punishment. Quinn is not here? That uncle, do you know where that bastard Quinn went? After entering here, she looked around and didn't see where Quinn was. No, are you one of his relatives? You have similar auras. I'm Quinn. What are those eyes of yours for? Hearing this familiar voice, Setsuna rubbed his eyes, his tone still full of doubt. Are you Quinn? Yes, I've said it before, I'm very handsome when I lose weight. I was just worried that others would fall in love with me, so I maintained that figure. How about it? Do you feel how handsome I am? You are indeed shameless. Explain to me, why did you meet the general of our headquarters when you said you were fine? At the beginning, Quinn was very chubby, which was the result of his large intake of sweets. After using the grace of nature, his fat disappeared quickly, and he became skinny after being sucked dry. Now, on the way back, Quinn has recovered a lot by eating, and he looks almost the same as in the Mads period. Quinn at this stage is still acceptable, but it's really not good with this hairstyle now. The hairstyle back then at least looked a bit ruffian, not like now, like a comedian. It's okay, and you have to believe me, it's just a general. Zerora and I are enough to deal with it. Mahaha. Quinn's words made Setsuna silent. For a moment, she didn't know how to defend herself to him. This man's face seemed to break through the sky. It was as if Zerora was the assist and he alone tied the general. This was the change in Quinn's state of mind. After experiencing great joy and sorrow, and a great war, he found that the general was not that scary, and his heart became unprecedentedly inflated. However, as the saying goes, if God wants to destroy someone, he must first make him crazy. A slightly excited voice came to Quinn's ears. Quinn, you are finally back. The bounty is 2.7 billion berries, second only to me and Arceus. It seems that you have been hiding your shortcomings before. Quinn's laughter stopped abruptly, and he even dared not look back. Well, I must be hallucinating, because I've been hungry for too long, right? Mr. Kaido, Quinn said he can deal with the Navy admirals. Setsuna did not answer Quinn, but just artistically processed Quinn's words. Chapter 784 Kaido's Subjective Initiative, Arceus' Mysterious Gift. Sometimes retribution comes quickly. Before he could boast for long, Kaido had already appeared behind him. The stronger the subordinates, the happier Kaido is. Whether it is a foreign war or a fight with himself, only strong subordinates can play a better effect. So after hearing that they are back, Kaido naturally came to the door. Everyone in the beasts knows what kind of character Kaido is. Seeing Kaido obviously wanting to practice with Quinn, Setsuna conveyed Quinn's words without hesitation, but the result of the message was a bit tortuous. It seems to be said by Quinn, but it is very different from what he wanted to express. He also said that Zerora can only be his deputy. Don't talk nonsense. When did I say that? Listening to Setsuna who was bewitching Kaido, Quinn hurriedly tried to explain, but then a familiar voice came from Setsuna's hand. Isn't this okay? And you have to believe me, it's just a general. Zerora and I are enough to deal with it. Mahaha. Just a general. These are your original words. And what you mean is that Zerora can assist you. Why did you bring a recorder with you? Listening to his own voice coming from the recorder, Quinn felt that Setsuna had a conspiracy long ago. How could a normal person bring this thing? Oh, this is what I prepared for Zerora to hear, so that he can hear how you quibble with me. He has defended you a lot, and said that you didn't know, and now it comes in handy. Mr. Kaido, you heard it. This is what he said. Is Kaido easy to fool? The answer is that it is not easy to fool. When he is sober, He can understand that Quinn is just showing off. But sometimes, he is willing to be fooled. If the leader values you, you will be promoted because your left foot enters the office first. If he doesn't like you, no matter how well you do, you will be punished. Now Kaido's subjective purpose is to fight with Quinn. Therefore, no matter what Setsuna said, he would find a reason to take Quinn away. At this time, Setsuna had already laid the steps under his feet, and he couldn't help but step on them. Ahaha, come on, Quinn, let me feel your strength. By the way, you looked better before. Quinn was taken away by Kaido under his armpit, and Setsuna returned to Kuri's residence. Compared to the skinny Quinn, Zerora, who had been fighting all the time, did not suffer any injuries. During the time he came back, he simply trimmed his hair. He shaved off the hair that was scorched by the magma, and then regenerated it using a method similar to the return of life, leaving no trace of the battle. Quinn could do the same, but that way of eating would make him lose the fun of eating, so he chose the path of slowly gaining weight. At this time, Meowina and Wolf were watching Zerora's new bounty. Dad, you are awesome. Yeah, 1.5 billion. What a high bounty, much higher than Mom's. Wolf counted the zeros behind the bounty one by one, and in the end, only admiration remained. For children of this age, parents are omnipotent, and there is nothing they can't do. Most qualified parents will become heroes in their children's eyes at this time. Because they are the children of Zerora and Setsuna, their cognition is also different from that of ordinary people. If they were children of ordinary families, they would be told that those on the bounty are evil parties and bad people, and they must stay away from them. For the descendants of the Navy, they probably want to bring them to justice, but in the group of pirates, these common senses are not universal. Even if the beasts are getting closer and closer to a special regime, their definition is still pirates, and this definition will not change as long as the world government exists. For the beasts pirates, the bounty has long become an object of flaunting strength. Without a high bounty, they are embarrassed to hang out in the new world. And the education that the children receive is that the world government and the Navy are enemies. In their view, this is just the enemy's certification of their parents' strength. What are you talking about? If we hadn't gone out so seldom after you two were born, the bounty wouldn't be like this. Back. How did Quinn explain it to you? That's it. This is a recording. If you're interested, go and listen to it yourself. But he was taken away by Mr. Kaido, so he should have a good time. Setsuna himself didn't know the specific result, but according to the gossip from the pirates of Onigashima, Kaido was very happy that day. As for Quinn, his life was not easy. Although the grace of nature was powerful, it was simply not usable in this environment. On the one hand, the place was not suitable, and on the other hand, his physical condition did not allow it. If he used it again now, Quinn would really be squeezed dry. After a while, Yamato, who was out for a trip, returned to Onigashima with a large bag of local specialties. During this time outside, she was very happy without Kaido's oppression. However, as soon as she returned to Onigashima, she saw a figure who was overeating in the cafeteria. Quinn was trying to restore her body shape. It didn't take long for her to regain her roundness, but she was still a little short of getting completely fat. Uncle Quinn, I heard that you did something amazing. I saw it in the newspaper outside. Shh, Miss Yamato, don't mention that anymore. I don't want Kaido to notice it again. Seeing Yamato dressed up like this after a vacation, Quinn was full of envy. From the perspective of status, Yamato should have attracted the attention of the Navy, but they all focused on him. Thinking of this, the grief and anger in his heart turned into appetite. Quinn began to frantically eat the food in front of him, converting them into heat and storing them in his body. Don't be so sad. My godfather said that he has prepared a new gift for you this time. You should like it. Ahem. Lord Arceus prepared a gift for me. Listening to Yamato's words, Quinn almost choked to death on his rice cake and red bean soup, but still confirmed Yamato's words with a little surprise. Arceus rarely gives gifts to others, but when he does, they are all unimaginable treasures. Well, I met my godfather before, and he said it's not easy for you. According to my godfather, you are the first one to weld a part to your body, so you have to gain something from it. He didn't know how to evaluate this tragic fact, but he still looked forward to it. Whether it was power or something else, it was a rare good thing for him. Using the harvesting property to accelerate the growth of the banana on his chin was a huge benefit for him. Not to mention this mysterious gift. Chapter 785 Quinn's Paranoia, the Beast Immigration Bureau. As time passed, 1516 was drawing to a close. Quinn was eagerly waiting for Arceus' return, imagining his bright future, and his figure was becoming more and more bloated day by day. In the end, he had regained his original roundness. At this time, Quinn had just left the Pokemon Center of Beasts. He came here not for an inspection, but to inspect others. With the help of Kaido, his original self-expansion had disappeared. He once again realized the gap in his strength. Being able to fight did not mean that he could win. However, the idea of not even wanting to go out of the door before disappeared a lot. Just to prevent himself from encountering misfortune again, he would still check the internal security environment from time to time. The permanent population in Wano country can now be divided into 4 parts. The natives of Wano country, the pirates of beasts, the fur tribe of Zal, and the technical talents attracted under the policy conditions of beasts. The pirates stationed on the main island are basically old people. He is not worried about the isolated natives and the fur tribe of different races. These talents attracted by high salary conditions are his suspicious targets. Relatively speaking, this group of people has the greatest possibility of problems. Although these people have lived in Wano country for a long time, it does not affect Quinn's periodic persecution paranoia. After some investigation, he once again confirmed the safety of these doctors. In fact, after so many years, if there is a problem, it should have erupted long ago. Quinn is just a little too nervous, but when he wanted to leave, a doctor found him. Master Quinn, please wait a moment, I have a question to consult you. What's the matter? That, I had some friends at the beginning. Now because they offended some people, they can't get along well in the local area and want to live in another place. He is also a very good doctor. Do you think there are any new immigration policies recently? Except for the world government, which will always check identity documents. Most islands and countries don't care about this kind of thing. Just wanting to live in another place is not an easy thing on this sea. The member countries also have their own passenger ships to ensure the safety of shipping as much as possible, but ordinary people are completely gambling on luck. What will the ship encounter on the sea, and whether it can reach the destination smoothly? Such things, no one knows. UMIT's shipping business includes this part. As long as the money is in place, in most cases, it can reach the destination safely. The Beasts is also attracting people from outside during its development, and even has special preferential treatment for talents. So he asked Quinn. It's impossible for the main island, but the islands in the outer territories are okay. You know the rules. Go back and write an application. Some things will never be available again if you miss them. The current Wano country has entered a new era. The same level of technology was available more than 10 years ago, but it is not necessarily the case now. Quinn is responsible for matters such as personnel flow, which is also related to his current mental state. He does not want to give other undercovers the opportunity to sneak into the main island, and has been trying his best to prevent this from happening. Okay, I understand. The internal recommendation system has always existed within the beasts. If you have connections, it is usually easier to accomplish some things. For ordinary people, the most trustworthy ones are still the world government and the navy. The residents in the towns of Marineford are also the residents with the highest sense of security, but not everyone has this luck. Those citizens of non-member states and residents of certain islands on the Grand Line don't have this luck. In the changing times, they will also make their own choices. On a certain island in the New World, there used to be a country, but it was destroyed in a war with a member state. In order to pay the heavenly gold, that country attacked here and plundered a lot of wealth. Since then, it has become a lawless place. But then, a new order was born here. Due to its geographical location, this island was used as a transit station. Goods, population, and a large amount of resources were concentrated here and resent to all parts of the world. It can be said to be a special gray center. Dear, is this really okay? That's the territory of pirates. At the port, the family gathered together a little nervously. The family's opinions on moving were not completely unified. Believe me, I have found out with House that even some wealthy people in the new world have moved to the island ruled by beasts. If it is really that terrible, do you think they will go there? Those people may be immoral, vicious, but they are not fools to go there. They value their lives very much and will not move to a dangerous place. The sense of family and country basically does not exist in this world. In the context of the age of discovery, few people have a home in the country. In order to live a better life, they do not mind moving, especially those who cannot be said to have a country. Hope it's bad. Honey, the wallet is gone. Forget it, it's just a little money, you can make more. But that's our last savings. Start all over again, wait until you leave here. There is order here, but it is only relative. Compared with the disordered illegal zone, there will at least be no open unrest here. The rulers of the underground world do not allow them to affect the operation here. But privately, petty theft and human trafficking are not uncommon. They just come here to wait for people according to the address given by their friends. There were also many people around staring at them, seemingly looking for an opportunity. At this time, a pirate ship began to dock at the port, and the flag of the beasts fluttered in the wind. Even the ships that had been prepared to enter the port had already given way. Get out of the way. Several people climbed down the ladder from the ship. Compared with the pirates around them, they were dressed very formally, and their looks were also average. They were a special team of the beasts pirates, responsible for bringing some high-value talents to the territory, and a special immigration management bureau. There is a hard requirement for being selected, and you have to look good, at least to make others think you are a good person. In the beasts, this requirement is not excessive. Regardless of gender, they have many people with good looks, and it is enough to select some people with certain strength. As for more special people, it has nothing to do with them, and there will be carders to invite them in person. Relying on the reputation of the beasts, the people on the dock quickly made way, and he also found the person he was looking for. You must be the Wilsons, right? Dr. House has asked us to pick you up and take you to your new home. Please follow me. After comparing the photos in his hand, he quickly identified his target. Chapter 786, Return of Arceus, the mysterious hedgehog. First impressions are important, which is why this team has requirements for appearance. At least now, the Wilson family looked at the gentle and refined people in front of them and felt a lot more relaxed. You guys, if you are worried, you can call House. He is on vacation today. The new world is not peaceful, and it is normal for people to worry. He has been doing this for a long time, so he naturally has enough patience. Soon, Wilson confirmed through the phone that the person in front of him was the one who came to pick them up. Sorry to bother you. You're welcome, but you seem to have encountered a little trouble. He is very good at observing people's expressions. He can tell from their expressions that this family seems to have encountered some trouble. Nothing, just lost a wallet. Wilson answered casually, not expecting the other party to help, but this matter is an opportunity for the people of the beasts to show off their skills. Wait a minute. This is not the first time he has come here. He knows exactly who is gathered at this dock and quickly found the person in charge here. Hey, our people lost their wallets here. At this time, there was no sense of politeness in his tone. With his back to the Wilson family, there was even a hint of murderous intent in his eyes. This team is not a good guy. They have very few combat missions, but they are still part of the beasts. He has 2 earrings on one side of his ear, which together form the number 99. Even if he is at the bottom, he is still a member of the numbering group. As the undisputed overlord of the sea and the giant of the underground world of the new world, the people here are not worthy of his respect. How could this happen? This must be a misunderstanding. Give me 30 minutes, and I will definitely find the wallet back. 10 minutes, no more. Understood. Everyone knows the twists and turns here. To be the manager of the stock, he also has his own people to rely on, but this person is nothing compared to the Emperor of the Sea. Even if the person in front of him is just a small carder, he can't afford to offend him. He turned around and picked up the Den Mushi and scolded him a few times. In less than 10 minutes, several wallets appeared here. In such a place, only fists can maintain order. Find the person you should find. Even if you lose a needle, they can dig 3 feet into the ground to find it, but without that layer of relationship, you can basically just blame yourself for your bad luck. Be careful next time. If you touch the people we want again, be careful with your hands. After looking through the documents in the wallet and confirming which wallet he needed, he turned around and left here, taking the Wilson family away. On the ship, Wilson met people from all walks of life, chefs, doctors, craftsmen, accountants, almost covering all aspects, and the people of the beasts always maintained a kind expression. Seeing that these people were so easy to get along with, he also plucked up the courage to step forward and ask a question. Excuse me, I heard that you have a magical creature that can judge the situation in the human body just by listening. Can I see it? You are not qualified now. When you prove yourself and enter a higher level place to work, you will naturally see them, but they may not cooperate with you. After all, that is the life created by that adult. This time he only said half of the words, and some words would not be said, and the Arceus he mentioned also returned to Wano country at the arrival of the new year. What is Quinn doing? Shaina threw away the ribbon scattered on her head. Looking at Quinn holding a bunch of paper fireworks, she felt that this guy must have a problem with his brain. I guess he heard something from Miss Yamato. Emmeline on the side echoed. They all knew that Arceus asked Yamato to reveal the news in advance. It seemed that Quinn was quite excited. I've never seen him so excited before. Lord Holy Beast, I don't think you need to reward that guy. This guy doesn't take you seriously. Shaina turned around and made a suggestion that made Quinn feel painful, but he didn't hear it because he was still above the port. It's okay. People like him are too rare. It's okay to let him lose his temper occasionally. As a scapegoat, Arceus will definitely ensure his safety. In the past, he has taken so many scapegoats and has not encountered any danger. If he doesn't go out this time, nothing will happen. It's just that there are many people who take the blame, but Quinn can be said to have set a precedent for being willing to weld the pot to himself. At this time, Quinn also came to the ship with a flattering look on his face. What he wanted to express was self-evident. Lord Arceus, welcome back. Quinn, you should pay attention to me. Lord Sacred Beast has never broken his promise. Are you so impatient? Please understand. I have had a hard time recently. You have no idea how terrible it is when Lord Arceus and Miss Yamato are not here at the same time. This means that Kaido will lose control and lose the first target of ridicule. Who will be unlucky is completely a probabilistic event. Moreover, due to his reputation, Quinn has become Kaido's second-ranked ridicule target after Yamato. It is easy for Kaido to train him. You should think about whether it will be troublesome for you to go out in the future. You should not have left Wano country after the incident. You are now in the limelight on the sea. Many people want to use your head to get to the top. Shaina's words made Quinn confused. He really didn't pay much attention to the outside world. You really don't know? There are many people who want your head. You know, those young and inexperienced people. Besides them, there are also some pirates in the new world who want to use you to become famous. In fact, there is no shortage of people who want to step on the old predecessors to get to the top on the sea, and Quinn's huge bounty of 2.7 billion makes him the target of many people. No one knows how powerful the Emperor of the Sea is, so before taking action, it is a very appropriate choice to use a big carder like Quinn as your small target. Good luck. I hope you can survive smoothly. After all, I can't find a more convenient sandbag than you. Quinn did not refute. He didn't think about it before, and even forgot that fame would bring more trouble. For some reason, he felt that the future was bleak again. My lord, are you really letting me follow this guy? He looks so useless. At this time, a delicate female voice came from Arceus' feet. Quinn was sure that he had never heard this voice before. When he looked in the direction of the voice, a creature with the appearance of a hedgehog was shrinking behind Arceus' legs and looking at him. Chapter 787 Bing Kong's bouquet of flowers. Thanks to me. It looks like a hedgehog, but it is very different from an ordinary hedgehog. Not only is its body white, but even its thorns have been replaced by lush, fresh green grass, and you can see a few yellow seed-like objects in it. There is a pair of pink flowers on each side of its cheeks. The caiman that can speak. This has a very important meaning in the beast world. So far, Pokémon that have mastered the ability to speak on the day they were born are either mythical beasts or have special jobs. But this time it is very special because the opponent is just a hedgehog. Zorora, Darkrai, Diancie, Genesect, Manaphy, they all have a body structure similar to that of humans and look like some kind of subhuman. This kind of Pokémon with a purely animal appearance is rare, but no matter what, the Pokémon in front of you must be extraordinary. Arceus has never disappointed anyone. My lord, look at the way that guy looks at me. Does he look like a pervert? Or is he a pervert himself? I think he's dangerous. Don't say that, little guy. I'm not a pervert. Do you want to eat? According to past experience, he can get along well with most Pokémon through food. The Pokémon in front of him looks like it's made of plants, and it looks like a vegetarian. Although his habit of speaking is strange, it shouldn't be difficult to get along with him. At least he won't be like the spiny ammonite, who is used to greeting him with a water gun. Oh, to be precise, it has been upgraded to a spike cannon. After thinking for a while, Quinn made a gamble. After he transformed, he took off the original banana of the tropical dragon on his chin and pushed it in front of the other party. Charlotte Linlin had no way to get this banana, but at this time Quinn took it out on his own initiative. This was a huge investment for him, and his purpose was to change the other party's stereotype of him. Try it, it's delicious. Looking at the banana that was bigger than his body, the hedgehog began to smell it. Mimi, give it a try for now. You gave it to me on your own initiative, right? You won't regret it, will you? No, just eat it slowly. The bananas of tropical dragon are still very tempting to vegetarian Pokémon. So far, Quinn has achieved initial success, and then he looked at Arceus. Lord Arceus, is this what you prepared for me? Almost. Her name is Shimi. Don't underestimate her. Whether your plantation can be restored depends on her. This little guy, does he have such great energy? His banana plantation was basically scrapped. Sakaska's meteor volcano and his natural grace, two major explosions have destroyed the ecology of the island, and even the microorganisms in the water are almost extinct. Under normal circumstances, the island will be a barren state for a long time in the future. This is a big loss for Quinn. There are many islands in the new world, and the choice of that island as a banana plantation has been investigated several times. The climate and soil, that island are the most suitable places for him to grow bananas. Caesar and Sakaski were on his blacklist because of this. He originally thought that Arceus would at most help him get some new seeds, but he didn't expect that he would restore the place. This is Shimi's ability. If she wants, she can still do this. Shimi is also a member of the mythical Pokémon and has her own unique ability. Its body can decompose toxins in the atmosphere like a natural filter. Gala's double bomb gas is not as good as her in this regard, but this is only one aspect. She also has the ability to revive all things on the barren earth. According to legend, when people are happy that the severe winter ends with a change of seasons and offer their gratitude to the heavens, Shimi will appear and fill the barren earth with flowers. Flowers are just a form of expression. Flowering and bearing fruit is the life of the plant, and it is also Shimi's essential power. What do you mean? Shimi can restore the ecology of that island, and your plantation can still be restored. The soil will be revitalized, and the harmful gases produced by the volcanic eruption can also be purified, and the island will only become more perfect. This sentence was like the sound of nature to Quinn. He thought of more things. If the island that was destroyed could be restored, wouldn't it be possible to make crops grow better if it was used on other normal islands? Even some of the special products he cultivated that could only be grown in the laboratory now have the possibility of mass production. This is not a hedgehog, it is simply a big treasure. Quinn looked at Shimi with a strange look again. You are a guy with a problem, aren't you? I don't think you can be trusted. Little guy, it's not nice to talk like that after eating my food. You took the initiative to give it to me. What does it have to do with me? But if you take out a little more, I can help you. Whether you can eat better food depends on you. As long as we cooperate well, I promise that you can eat enough every day. Do you want to show me your ability? No, that comes from the power of gratitude. Not now. Gratitude? I'm very grateful for the grace of Lord Arceus. I'm not talking about that kind of gratitude. Although it is important to be grateful to the Lord, you are not enough now, and the flowers haven't bloomed yet. Quinn began to not understand what Shemi was saying. According to Arceus, Shemi is a Pokemon that can rejuvenate everything. It can make plants bloom, but it has to wait for the flowers to bloom. This is simply a contradiction. Before he could ask anything, a seed suddenly appeared in his hand. Lord Arceus, this is the seed of the Gracitia flower, Shemi's favorite plant. When this flower blooms, she will be able to show another posture of her own when she smells the fragrance. It can be regarded as a test for you. When you can make it bloom, Shemi will definitely help you, right, Shemi? Since the master has said so, the result is certain. I will help you when it blooms. Shemi in hedgehog form is also called the land posture. If she feels the gratitude of humans, the flowers on her body will bloom. The flowers on her body had no reaction before, so it was said that Quinn did not know how to be grateful. The Gracitia flower is also known as a rare flower. Its fragrance will allow Shemi to show her sky posture. By then, Shemi will have stronger combat power and the ability to fly freely. Task Executor, Quinn Reward, Shemi, issued hidden task enabled, planting Gracitia flowers reward, brand new banana plantation, not issued. Chapter 788 Quinn's Ancestors and Crown Prince's Companion. From that day on, Quinn had 2 more ancestors in various senses. Shemi was almost worshipped by him, so that Shemi could help him revive the banana plantation smoothly. The second ancestor was Gracitia, which became his most important goal at present. Moreover, because he did not know the planting conditions of Gracitia, he planted the seeds in various areas of Wano country, whether indoors or outdoors. There are his planting areas, even in the Linghao area, where snow is covered all year round, in case Gracitia is a cold zone crop. He even got a few monitoring snails from Wano country to monitor his crops 24 hours a day. He was not Vegapunk, who made a bunch of clones for himself. He chose to stay in Linghao, where the climate was the worst, because the flowers here were most likely to have problems, and other places were monitored in this way. Shemi herself was not as persistent as Quinn about this matter. Although she also liked the scent of Gracitia, she still chose to stay in a warmer and more comfortable environment. This is also a special test for Quinn. Planting flowers is not difficult for him. It just requires some perseverance. And a foodie always uses sufficient patience when fighting for food. Hey, you two go play away from here. Be careful not to touch my flowers. But it hasn't grown yet. Same, all the same. Go play over there. Otherwise don't expect me to make toys for you in the future. Quinn waved his hand to drive Miawana and Wolf away. Compared with their parents, these 2 little guys have a better impression of Quinn. They don't understand so many things. In their eyes, Quinn is just a fat uncle who often brings delicious food and can make toys. The 2 siblings are approaching the age of 6, and the scope of their activities is gradually expanding. In addition to Jiuli, they can often be seen in other areas. This time they will be in Linghao, just because they want to have a snowball fight. It is now the end of December. Although the temperature in other areas has dropped, only Linghao and the top of Fujiyama have such large-scale snow. If you want to have a snowball fight, Linghao is the best choice. For the sake of fun toys, Miawana and Wolf stayed away from here temporarily. Generally, snowball fights will not affect the flower seeds that have not yet hatched, but the problem is that the people who play snowball fights are different. For normal people, the focus of snowball fights is on the snow, but for the brother and sister, the focus of snowball fights is on the fight, and they really know how to fight. After moving to another place, the brother and sister quickly rolled into a ball on the snow and started their own unique play. Do we really not need to stop them? On the snow next to them, a rabbit fur asked his own question. No, they have always played like this. The Duke himself is not worried, so we don't have to worry about it. Beppo explained the daily life of the brother and sister to the fur tribe who had just arrived in Wano country. In Wano country, Setsuna and Zorora were not worried about the safety of the children. Beppo followed them not because he was afraid that something would happen to them, but because he was afraid that they would play too crazy and couldn't find anyone when the time came. And the rabbit fur is a role similar to the prince's companion, used to accompany his children as they grow up. They can't be too young, otherwise they won't know who will take care of whom. They can't be too weak, otherwise they may not be able to play together. In this case, Carrot, who is 3 years older than them, appeared here. Is that so? Carrot took out a carrot, and there was still some doubt in his tone. Being chosen by the new Duke is not a bad thing. At least compared to Zal, everything in Wano country is much richer. Even though Setsuna has been helping Zhao to change the quality of life due to environmental problems, it still cannot be directly compared with Wano country. The snow here is also a novelty for Carrot, of course, and this is just the beginning. There are more troubles to come. As he said this, Beepo looked around, as if he was looking for something, but in the end he didn't find it, but used the snow to build a wall. Don't look at it, come and help. Although Beepo was originally with Setsuna, his status was definitely the lowest in the family. In addition, with his own personality, he couldn't say 3 sentences without apologizing. Now that he has an ordinary junior, he also shows the appearance of a senior. Are we going to play too? No, this is to avoid snowballs. I don't want my fur to get wet. Before Garrett could understand what this meant, Miyawa and Wolf had already changed their tactics. They were no longer just playing around, but started a long-range bombardment. The snow around the two people, who were pulling away from each other, kept floating up, and finally condensed into snowballs one after another in the sky, and then flew towards each other like a rain of bullets. Some of the snowballs lost control due to improper manipulation, and flew towards Beepo, and the wall he had just built was blown down. So amazing. How did they do it? That was inherited from the Duke, called the power of Wava Guide. Does the Duke have the power to communicate with the Lord of the Elephants? Well, Lord Arceus gave the Duke that power, and the two of them inherited a lot. The Duke also let them train themselves in the process. Miyawa and Wolf can be said to be the most talented fur tribe in hundreds of years. In addition to their original physique, they also inherited the Wava Guide power of Setsuna and the lightning power of Zorora. Even if the current Wava Guide can only be used for snowball fights, it also confirms their distant future. The two people's fight is also a way for the fur tribe to become stronger, but compared with the general fur tribe, their degree is more intense. In the end, the clothes on the two people were wet, and Beepo and Carrot took them back to Giuli on the Tanabata Bluebird. Dad, Mom, Lord Arceus gave Uncle Quinn a very cute hedgehog. We wanted too. That hedgehog looks so cute. As soon as they jumped off the back of the Tanabata Bluebird, they looked for the figures of Setsuna and Zorora, and said their demands, but the two did not see Setsuna and Zorora at home as usual. In the end, they saw their figures in the farmland not far from their home. Slow down, don't run so fast. Miyawa and Wolf followed Carrot, and Beepo behind them was carrying all kinds of strange things, and he caught up with a little panting. Beepo, you don't have enough physical strength. I'm sorry, I didn't expect these things to be so heavy. Hey, Your Excellency Duke, are you going to do something special? At this time in the farmland, Setsuna and Zorora were holding several bundles of green onions that were taller than people, and they seemed to be planning to plant them here. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 789. Who can resist a duck with green onions? Behind Setsuna and Zorora, a bear was seen plowing the land. The bear was responsible for carrying the things that Beepo had carried in the past. Beepo saw that the bear was always relaxed and thought that the things were not heavy. It was not until today that the bear came to help in the farmland that he realized how heavy the things were. At this time, the bear was plowing the land, Setsuna and Zorora were planting green onions, and the lot capper was jumping by, and the lotus leaf hat on his head sprinkled a lot of water, completing the irrigation work. It looked like they were having a good time, but it was very rare for Setsuna and Zorora to plow the land by themselves, not to mention that they were planting green onions. Miyawa stretched out her hand to compare, and found that the green onion was thicker than her arm. Wolf's action was more direct. Although it was wolf fur, he took a bite directly. Sweet, Mom, let's make odon tonight. You only know how to eat it. Let's talk about it later. These onions have other uses for the time being. Let's talk about it after they have finished choosing. They are birthday gifts prepared by Lord Arceus for you. They will accompany you in training in the future. It's almost time now. By the way, don't want everything you see. You can only ask for what Lord Arceus gives you. You can't force it if it doesn't have it. Do you understand? Setsuna leaned down to educate her children, and Zerora also listened silently. Shima's appearance is very special, but she is not Quinn's pet. At most, she is a partner or partner. In terms of kinship, Shima is a generation older than the two little guys. In the sky beside, several birds like yellow-billed ducks also flew over. After landing, they immediately ran towards the onions. Camus' the whole body is covered with dark brown feathers, and there are several special feathers on the top of the head, with the V-shaped markings on their foreheads like eyebrows, and their slightly sharp eyes. These ducks look a little handsome. Onion duck, Gala regional form. For them, these onions are their second life. They come here in a hurry, just to find onions that suit them. And the reason why Setsuna and Zerora planted onions here is to welcome the arrival of Gala onion duck. Unlike ordinary onion duck, Gala onion duck has fighting attributes, but this does not affect their ability to fly. Their muscles are more developed than ordinary onion duck, and their body structure has not changed significantly. They rarely fly, because it is not convenient to fly with that onion. When they urgently need to find new onions, they will also fly. As for putting down the onions, it is not impossible, but it is not necessary. The reason why they evolved into the regional form is mainly the onions unique to Gala. These onions are similar to the combination of leeks and onions, and are a relatively special stem-like plant. Due to the weight problem, the onion duck active in Gala gradually developed more developed muscles, a more warlike character, and also appeared a unique evolution. As for why it is Gala's onion duck instead of ordinary onion duck, facing the increasingly lively Meowth and Wolf, fighting type Pokemon can compete with their energy. Setsuna and Zerora planted this unique Gala onion, which is very important for onion duck. It is not only a weapon, but also a material for building nests and emergency reserve food in emergencies. Each onion duck fights differently, because there is far more than one way to wield onions. For onion duck, it cannot survive without that onion, and these onions are good and bad, so onion ducks sometimes fight each other for onions. At this time, these onion ducks are still carefully selecting onions, looking for the one that suits them best. In the pond next to them, a group of ordinary ducks also saw the onion duck landing here, and many ducks even had hearts in their eyes. This is also the development trend of Farfetch. Like Kentaro, Farfetch. The original Farfetch is still an ordinary Pokemon, but Farfetch''s hybrid offspring will become a new poultry product in the future, just like the Wagyu beef of Wano country. It looks delicious. Looking at Farfetch in front of him, Beepo drooled. For the fur tribe, fish, sea beasts, and birds are their sources of meat, and birds are rare delicacies. Although Beepo was just complaining, Farfetch, who was picking green onions next to him, heard it clearly. Curry? Does he want to eat us? Curry. It seems to be curry. Beat him. Yes, sorry, that's not what I meant. I don't want to eat you. I just think you look delicious. Farfetch didn't seem to want to listen to Beepo's explanation, so they rushed up with their green onions and started a group fight with the white bear. Farfetch hated this topic, and they almost became extinct because of this. Their meat is delicious, and the green onions they carry are also a special seasoning, usually of extremely high quality. When green onions meet ducks, a wonderful chemical reaction will occur, becoming a rare delicacy. What's even more outrageous is that the seasoning that is most suitable for cooking green onion ducks is always carried by green onion ducks. Gala green onion ducks are stronger and have tighter muscles. Relatively speaking, they have also experienced similar situations. In the end, they ended the fuss under the obstruction of the bear, and Beepo promised that he would never think about this again. Are they birthday gifts? They are your new friends. You can play with them in the future. Don't underestimate them. They are very strong. Zerora introduced the new partners to the children, but they didn't seem to believe in the strength of these ducks. The leading green onion duck seemed to see the problem and picked up the green onion in his hand and smashed it against the stone beside him. It smashed it to pieces with just one blow, which was also a side proof of his strength, and attracted the attention of the two children. With the joy of their new partner, Miawa and Wolf are looking forward to the arrival of the New Year festival. Wano country is gradually covered by the joy of the new year, but not everyone is like this. Some people seem to be unable to bear the loneliness. It's been 14 years. Lord Dodden has left us for 14 years, and these people have long forgotten who is the master of Wano country. Kazuki Hiyori is not worthy of the name of Kazuki. It is because of her that these people have lost their blood in their hearts. If this goes on, even if we wait another 6 years, who will be willing to resist? A dagger was inserted on the table, piercing through the portrait of Kazuki Hiyori. Several slightly old faces could be seen in the room. These were the last group of people in Wano country who firmly believed in Kazuki Oden. They had not taken any action for more than 10 years, but today, they could not sit still. Chapter 790 Night is coming. 14 years ago, the battle in Flower Capital changed everything in Wano country, and after that, Wano country ushered in a period of rapid development. The puppet regime of Kazuki Hiyori made most people put down their resistance, and the benefits brought by reality also made them gradually accept the current life. The prophecy left by Kazuki Toki before his disappearance was gradually forgotten, and fewer people were willing to stick to it. There were not many people at the table, and they all looked older. They refused to accept the changes brought by the beasts and stubbornly lived in the old way. Low yield crops required more labor to fill their stomachs, so they looked older. Is there really any point in assassinating General Hiyori? She is not a general. Have you ever seen a general who is willing to be a puppet of the enemy? If she had any ambition, she would have died to prove her loyalty long ago. More and more people have forgotten all this. Only by killing her and making all beasts lose their orthodoxy can we arouse the courage of the people of Wano country to resist, stand up to challenge their rule in the future, and allow Lord Momonosuke to have enough troops. Even if Lord Dodden was still alive, he would not want to see the current situation. The leader continued to publicize his own power. According to his description, Kazuki Hiyori had become an unforgivable person. But, shouldn't the enemy be Kaido? Shouldn't we defeat him? Lady Hiyori may be forced to do nothing. After all, even Lord Dodden is dead. What can she do? Don't call her lady. That woman is no longer qualified. The root problem of Wano country is the beast pirates stationed here. He is very clear about this. If he can drive away the beasts, it will be much more meaningful than assassinating Hiyori Kazuki, but the problem is that he can't do it. Kaido's military power is not proportional to that of Hiyori Kazuki. Even if Hiyori Kazuki has countless people protecting her, it is much easier to deal with than Kaido, who is invincible. Assassinate Kaido? If he had this ability, he would not be able to plot in this small shabby house. The assassination of Hiyori Kazuki is because they feel that they must do something. In the current Wano country, a person may not know the general, but he must have heard of the beasts. This situation is what these people are most reluctant to see. And many things prompted them to act, such as a portrait of a deceased person placed on an empty seat on the table, and the person on it had just died not long ago. Not long ago, a seriously ill old man was brought to the Pokemon Center of Beasts. He didn't want to come here, but his children took him to the Pokemon Center of Beasts against his will. After a series of examinations, the doctor concluded that it was too late. Conventional means no longer work, and it is recommended that they climb Fujiyama and use the healing spring water above for treatment. In other countries, this is just psychological comfort, but in Wano country, this is manpower beyond manpower. As long as there is perseverance, it is not difficult to complete this task, but the patient firmly disagreed and died of illness. This also sounded a wake-up call for this group of people. They are old. If they wait any longer, even if someone really comes, they may not be able to lift their weapons. And Quinn also made an indispensable contribution in this process. The identity investigation of the people across the country and the random inspection every now and then made these people suspect that Quinn was guarding against them. People's eyesight limits many things. They have a strong understanding of Oden, but they don't know how strong it is. A farmer in the mountains would think that the emperor's life is to farm with a golden hoe and eat white flour buns every meal. They also had a very simple logic. People will die if they are killed, and Quinn was also worried about their assassination. In fact, they only guessed half right. Quinn was indeed afraid of being assassinated, but he was not afraid of them. Just these people, if he lay there and let them beat him for 3 days, they might not be able to recover as fast as him. Think about it carefully. Can you still wait? Now they have almost forgotten Kazuki. What will it be like in another 6 years? Do you dare to imagine? With just the people of us, we can't even enter the palace of the flower capital, right? The fact that they can gather here shows that they all have their own beliefs, but this belief is to expel Kaido, and now it has evolved into the assassination of Kazuki Hiyori, which makes many people hesitate. But they think that what the other party said is right, so they just raised their own questions and did not leave directly. This is an opportunity. The New Year's festival is just a few days away. The people of the beasts will celebrate on Onigashima and will not stay in Wano country. Hiyori Kazuki will also participate in the celebration in Wano country. This is our opportunity. For more than 10 years, there has been no trouble. The protection of the general is no longer as strict as when the Kurizumi family rebelled. It will definitely be much easier to attack at the celebration than in the palace. But he can still see that many people are afraid. The reason has been explained clearly. At this time, he started to play the emotional card again. We all grew up together. Do you remember what we said in the courage test when we were young? People are afraid because they value themselves too much. Empty your mind, give it a try, and give it a try. The tradition of Wano country is to abandon your name and wisdom, and give it a try like a beast. At this time, this word was mentioned again. Shimingzi. Shimingzi. Similar voices rang out in the house one after another, and finally turned into a unanimous shout. After getting the support of everyone, an action was launched. However, those who discussed the plan did not notice that there was a special frog hanging upside down on the eaves outside. The frog that appeared here was naturally Greninja, the Pokemon responsible for the ninjas in Wano country. The beasts are now practicing non-terrorist rule. As long as they do not explicitly resist, their own safety will not be a problem. Although these people did not take action, they were also key monitoring targets. Every time they gathered, they were under the control of the beasts. Some time ago, they were a little abnormal, so Greninja had been eyeing them for a long time. Not long after they dispersed, Greninja left here. He did not return to the flower capital, but went directly to Onigashima at night. Lord Arceus, this is what happened. Those people did not appreciate your kindness. Do you need me to do it? The finger slid across his tongue, and Greninja's meaning was self-evident. These ninjas are good at assassination. As long as Arceus needs, these people will disappear before the New Year festival, and no one will notice the accident. No need, arrange people to control the situation, just to let the little girl know that in Wano country now, we are the ones who want her to live safely the most. Chapter 791 Special Exercise, Ninja God. The overall strength of Wano country is not low, but with the death of the daimyo and the general, their strongest are the leaders of several gangs. Those people are restricted by Hyogoro. Judging from Hyogoro's recent situation, he has not participated in such things. The military strength of these rebel forces is not that outstanding. The local forces of Wano country are enough to deal with them. The establishment of the Shinsengumi is not to be a guard of honor, but to maintain internal stability. Wait, just pretend you don't know about this. My lord, what do you mean? Don't tell Bude and the others, just treat it as an exercise, to check their ability to deal with emergencies. Just let Jin and Drake know, so as not to make a big fuss and end badly. Yes, sir. During the period when Kazuki Oden just died, although Kurizumi Orochi became a scapegoat, there were still many people who didn't believe this, such as the bandits in Kuri. At the beginning, there were indeed some people who resisted with force, but now, they have become an important member of the mining field, and have made their own contributions to the mineral output of Wano country. In the past few years, there has been no trouble in Wano country, and everything is developing in a good direction. Although the Shinsengumi is an internal security force, it has gradually evolved into a nursing home. Usually, they just help people find dogs and cats and catch thieves. It's just right to use these people's actions to test what level they are. Yes, sir. Koga Greninja took a few steps back and then disappeared into the shadows. Arceus didn't take this matter seriously at all. It's not that easy to cause trouble in Wano country. No matter how meticulous the plan is, even if everything they planned can be implemented smoothly, it will be useless if they can't cross the mountain of the beast high level. Even Kaido, who is keen on fighting, has no interest in this kind of battle. He is too weak. The attacks of these people may not even sober him up. The next day, in the flower capital, Koga Greninja had returned here last night, but he didn't bother Jin and Drake. It was not a big deal. If there was anything, he could just talk about it the next day. With the ability of those people, it is impossible to rush into the flower capital. Although Kazuki Hiyori is just a puppet, there are also sufficient generals here. Hotei is patrolling outside the palace. This is the job of their general guards. It sounds solemn, but it is actually very easy. At least it has been like this for Hotei during his years in office. But he is very strict with the people below him, worried that their laxity will cause dissatisfaction among the beasts and thus dismiss him. He is used to the benefits brought by his status and cannot accept him returning to his previous run in life. My lord, you are back. Looking at Greninja coming back, Hotei respectfully stepped forward to greet him. As the current leader of the Shinsengumi, he and Greninja, the leader of the Hiyori Oniwa Banshu, are theoretically on the same level. But he is very clear that there is a gap between the status of the two sides. Orcs are very common in the beasts pirates. Whether it is giant beasts, fur tribes or fishmen, they are not uncommon. The closed Wano country has also become accustomed to this. Even Korematsu has become an indirect beneficiary, and ordinary residents no longer regard him as a strange kappa. Rare amphibians and reptiles like Greninja and Elizabeth have long been accepted here, and Greninja's power is not limited to this. The population of Wano country is also a place where the beasts train soldiers. In addition to a large number of high quality weapons, a lot of high quality soldiers are also sent here. In addition to those Oniwa Banshu, Greninja has an additional ninja force under his command, commonly known as the Koga Ryu Ninja, which has now become the mainstream ninja in Wano country. He himself is also regarded as the god of ninja by those ninjas. The New Year's festival is coming, so cheer up a little more. Yes, Arceus said that there was no need to mention this to them, so he wouldn't say it. He just hinted at it. Whether he could understand anything depends on Budei's own understanding. But from his reaction, he didn't understand the deep meaning of Greninja's words. Then Greninja found Jin and Drake, and began to convey Arceus's meaning. Although the New Year's festival is a large-scale celebration, it is not particularly important to the beasts. They would hold banquets from time to time, and the New Year festival was just a slightly larger banquet. Ordinary pirates would relax, but those in key positions would remain the same. The enemy would not give up their action plan just because of the festival. Jin and Drake were the ones who attended the banquet in the first half and had to go back to work in the second half. Generally, they would be responsible for the first half of the night and the second half of the night respectively. Drake preferred to work in the first half of the night. According to her, it was better not to sleep all the time, but it was too torturous to wake up in the middle of the night after falling asleep. Brother Jin, there's fun. Boring. Can this kind of trash also inspire you to fight? That won't happen. But Brother Jin, don't you think that the other party thinks we know nothing? We pretend that we know nothing, but in fact we know everything. Then their expressions will be very interesting. As if thinking of some very interesting pictures, Drake's mouth corners showed a very strange smile. I don't think so, but remember to watch your mouth, and don't go out and talk nonsense. Don't worry, I'm the most tight-lipped, don't you know that? She knew what Jin was referring to. The people involved in this exercise also included Kikunojo and others. If she leaked the news in advance, the effect would not be good. The biggest difference between them and those people outside is that they are still loyal to the blood of the Kazuki family. In the past, it was either fireworks or drinking. This time it's more interesting. I hope they can do more. You'd better hope that the group of people in Wano country are not so useless. If this kind of rebellion can force you and me to take action, then they are too incompetent. That's right, but Brother Jin, how do you pretend to know nothing? You don't have to pretend, just be restrained. Go on duty when you have nothing to do. I have things to do. Jin still trusts Derek very much. This woman looks carefree, but in fact she knows her limits. Apart from the endless reincarnation of borrowing and repaying money, she is very trustworthy. If he thought she was naive and tried to get her to tell him something, he would definitely get himself into trouble. So he just asked Drake to be more restrained. Then he drew his knife. This was his special order, to get rid of Drake. He didn't intend to listen to Drake's nonsense anymore. Drake left here tactfully, and Jin also sharpened his blade. Trash. There is no value in existence. Chapter 792. If Odin is still alive, the assassination begins. If the rebels could force Jin and Drake to take action, it would mean that the Shinsengumi were just a bunch of miscellaneous soldiers who wasted food. They consumed so many supplies, but were of no use at all. Jin would have to use his own way to clean up the redundant soldiers. In the battle, it was reasonable to accidentally chop the wrong way. It was also inevitable that the unknown AoE hit the friendly army. Drake was still the same as before, teasing Xayaju on a daily basis and paying off all his debts before the new year. There was only one day left before the New Year festival. In the flower capital, many workers were busy. Festive decorations were hung on the eaves, and vendors were also confirming their own stalls. In the palace of the flower capital, Kazuki Hiyori was also preparing for the New Year festival, but she was not very interested. Hiyori, this is your itinerary for tomorrow. Please confirm it again. A minister was kneeling in front of her. This was the minister in charge of etiquette in Wano country. He had lived from the era of Kazuki Sukiyaki to the era of Kazuki Hiyori. He could be said to be a veteran of 3 dynasties and was very long-lived. The itinerary was very complicated. From early morning, the ceremony would begin, including the worship of the generals of all generations and the gods in the legend of Wano country. When all this was over, the ministers of the country would be received, and then the year-end congratulations would be delivered. On the first day of the new year, these would even be repeated again. The biggest difference was that the year-end congratulations became the New Year's congratulations. No, you can arrange it. Yes, then the old minister will withdraw. Take care of yourself. As he left, several maids also brought in new clothes, but within a dozen seconds, the angry voice of Hiyori was heard inside. Didn't I say it? I hate this pattern. Why is there this pattern? As if seeing something disgusting, Hiyori directly overturned the tray with the clothes, and at the same time, there was the sound of porcelain breaking. Seeing her angry, no one dared to reply, but just knelt on the ground and waited for her to finish. Because they were used to it. In these years of life, Hiyori became a little irritable. She was fine in the last second, and she might become very irritable in the next moment. But she had not lost her rationality, she just threw some things. If rebuttal will make her even angrier, silence is the best way to deal with it. Hiyori-sama, calm down. She is new here. I will teach her a lesson later. Kikunojo on the side made a round, which was considered to be a turning point. As the 3 retainers who stayed here, Kikunojo, Denjiro and Korematsu had slightly different ideas, but they were all obedient to Hiyori. Denjiro chose to protect the other party's safety, because she was the daughter of Kazuki Odin, just because of their identity, and Denjiro would do his best to follow her orders. This is also common to Kikunojo and Korematsu, but they think more. Due to the problem of inner cognition, Kikunojo thinks that he is a woman in his heart. From a female perspective, he can better understand Hiyori. The days of puppets seem to be beautiful, but in fact they are not easy. Even if she can travel abroad and has freedom in the flower capital, big and small things still have to be approved by Jin. This restriction and restraint makes people very uncomfortable. As for Korematsu, in addition to his obedience to the Kazuki family, he also feels guilty. Korematsu, what's wrong? Denjiro couldn't help asking as he looked at the slightly sad Korematsu. I was thinking, if I had tried harder and hadn't let Hiyori get caught, would everything be different now? He was responsible for taking Hiyori away, but was caught by Elizabeth. Since then, every time he saw Hiyori unhappy, he would feel guilty, so he was the most obedient to Hiyori. Even if something went against his will, he would not complain at all. It's not your fault. It's actually Orochi's fault that things have come to this point. Although I don't admit that guy's lies, I think that, even if Lord Odin was still alive, He might not be angry when he saw the current Wano country. If it weren't for the lies of Orochi, maybe Lord Odin and the beasts would get along very well. Odin's goal was to change Wano country and open up the country, and today's Wano country has done all of this, with its own foreign trade and the continuous improvement of residents' lives. Although it is still far from being completely opened up, it does not contradict Odin's goal. Denjiro has the most flexible mind. He saw all these things and understood them in his heart, but he just couldn't accept them and didn't want to admit them. Forget it, it's been less than 6 years. Let's just believe in Toki's prediction. Korematsu, just pretend I didn't say these things. I know. Years of life have made them have a tacit understanding. They selectively ignored the topic just now and devoted themselves to the preparations for the New Year's festival. However, this year's festival is destined to be unforgettable for them. Everything went smoothly at the beginning, with prayers, speeches, and parades. However, when everyone started to revel, Hiyori Kazuki did not participate in the festival, but came to several graves. All the pots were thrown on Kurozumi Orochi, and Kaido also recognized that Kazuki Odin was a powerful opponent, so he buried him here. Kaido and Odin fought at the New Year's festival 14 years ago, so the New Year's festival was also the anniversary of Kazuki Odin's death. Hiyori came here to worship Kazuki Odin. In the past, only a few of Odin's retainers and shinobu would follow her here, but this year, there were a little more people here. Those who planned the assassination finally chose to do it here. This was the result of their analysis of Hiyori Kazuki's behavior habits in previous years. Here, Hiyori Kazuki had the least manpower around him, and it was the best time for them to act. Fireworks exploded in the sky, but Denjiro and others had already drawn their samurai swords, because at the same time as the fireworks exploded, several flames appeared in the flower capital, and noisy footsteps were heard nearby. What are you going to do? Denjiro and Korematsu blocked Hiyori Kazuki behind them, and looked around vigilantly. When they came, they found that there were many more people around, but no one took it seriously, thinking that they were also here to commemorate Kazuki Odin. But when these people surrounded them with weapons and torches, even a fool would understand that something was wrong. We want to awaken the will of Wano country to resist. Then what are you doing here? If even the general obeys the beasts, how can outsiders continue to resist? We want to use blood to awaken Wano country and restart the transformation of Wano country. Shoot. Chapter 793 Odin's Ghost. Guns are still controlled in Wano country. They are much more dangerous than bows and arrows. No training is needed. With simple teaching, a person can use a gun to cause serious harm to others. Moreover, these people are not good at using guns, so they simply choose bows and arrows. There are hundreds of people gathered here, and almost everyone has a bow and arrow. Protect Lady Hiyori. Looking at the flying arrows, Denjiro's eyes widened. When Kazuki was out, he was assassinated by Kurozumi Orochi and his thigh was pierced by an arrow. Denjiro has always been brooding over this matter. Seeing a similar situation happen again, a surge of anger emerged from his heart. The sword flashed to the sky. Denjiro, Korematsu, and Kikunosuke formed an airtight line of defense to knock down all the arrows shot at Hiyori. Are you guys crazy? This is Lady Hiyori, Lady Odin's daughter. Do you know what you are doing? The people present could not understand these people's thinking. The Kazuki family has a special status in Wano country. The last time the Kazuki family was attacked by the locals, it was traced back to the rebellion of Kurozumi Orochi's grandfather, and that was for the position of the general. With the current situation in Wano country, Denjiro had no idea what these people were thinking. He also saw a few acquaintances in the crowd. In the past few years, these people were the seeds of resistance in his heart. He did not expect that they would actually attack Kazuki Hiyori. Lord Denjiro, go and see Wano country now. Except for us old people, teenagers don't know who the general is. They don't know the meaning of the general. They go to the school opened by Kaido and shout Lord Mingwang. If this goes on, will anyone be willing to resist? You are not protecting Kazuki at all by protecting her. Instead, you are destroying Kazuki's hope. If this goes on and Lord Momonosuke comes back, will anyone be willing to help him? We are old, and our descendants are unwilling to continue on this path, so we have to do something while we still have the strength. Although this action has been planned for a long time, there is nothing valuable. It is nothing more than taking advantage of the New Year's Festival of Beasts to make some noise in the flower capital to attract the attention of the Shinsengumi, and then they took the opportunity to attack Kazuki Hiyori. In addition, their target of action is Kochiro, the biggest traitor in their eyes. The enemy is too strong, so they can only start with the traitors among their own people. As for why he said so much to Denjiro, it was because of the military strength of Denjiro and others. Although they had a numerical advantage of several hundred times, they were still a little scared when facing Kazuki Oden's retainers. I thought Kazuki Hiyori would come here alone, but I didn't expect that all the retainers were here. So you want to assassinate Lord Hiyori? I think you might as well go to the gate of Onigashima and commit seppuku together. This will be more deterrent. I can be your Keishakunin. Listening to their words, Korematsu was even angrier than Ninjiro. After all, he had been blaming himself. Listening to these people's words, he just felt disgusted. In fact, what Korematsu said made sense. Doing this would definitely achieve their goal, but looking at the looks of these people, they didn't have the courage. Denjiro wanted to say something, but was pulled away by Hiyori. Hiyori-sama, it's dangerous. It's okay. I want to ask you, if it was Momonosuke standing here instead of me, would you still do this? You said I didn't have the spirit of resistance, so is it all my fault? Was it me who brought the beast's pirates to Wano country? You wanted to resist so much, what were you doing back then? She was still a child at the time. When she understood what had happened, Wano country had already become a foregone conclusion, and she had no ability to change these things. Originally, she and Momonosuke had a good brother-sister relationship, but over the years, under the puppet life, this concept has also changed to a certain extent. Why did Momonosuke leave? And why did she stay? Why do these people want to kill themselves? And the reason is to make more people willing to help Momonosuke. She is the daughter of Kazuki Oden. Logically, she should have lived a life of luxury, but Kazuki Oden's brain is not very good, and anyone can fool him. Her most worry-free time was actually when she was in the Whitebird Pirates. The daughter of the daimyo lives like a poor family. Except for Kazuki Oden, probably no one can do this. Now her life is top-notch except for the lack of freedom. She sometimes gets angry just because of the depression caused by unfairness. Only people who are also puppets can understand her feelings. Now those who want to assassinate her are even more unacceptable to her. She did nothing, but it turned out to be a mistake to live. Born in the general's family and encountered these things, there is nothing you can do about it, but in order for Wano country to return to its previous rule, your death is necessary. This is all for the future of Wano country. Samanochi. In the face of Kazuki Hiyori's questioning, they did not give a strong defense, but stubbornly believed that they were right to do so. In the shouts of Samanochi, these people raised their weapons and rushed towards Kazuki Hiyori. Shinobu, take Hiyori away. They are all Wano people, and they know very well that when someone shouts Samanochi, any verbal persuasion will no longer work, and they can only deal with it by force. No matter what the purpose of these people is, as long as they want to hurt Hiyori, they are enemies. However, Hiyori Kazuki did not want to escape like this, but pulled out a short knife. She is not powerless now. After all, she is the blood of Oden who sings on the flower street every day. After studying hard, she has some strength. But in the next moment, something that no one expected happened. Swoosh, swoosh. Two slashes came out from behind Hiyori Kazuki out of thin air and flew straight into the crowd. The power of the flying slash was so great that a large number of people who were just charging in the group fell down in an instant. That's Yanma and Shaina. It's the sword of Lord Oden. A person who participated in the assassination shouted in horror. At this time, behind Hiyori Kazuki, Yanma and Shaina, which were transformed into single sword sheaths, had been unsheathed, and the blades were flashing with cold light. The slash just now also came from them. When Kazuki Hiyori was commemorating Oden, she would always bring Enma and American English no Hibakari, without exception. They had long been transformed into unique sword sheaths and had their own consciousness. However, on this occasion, they caused a serious mental blow to the enemy. Lord Oden, it's the ghost of Lord Oden. Chapter 794 Killing and Darkening. Gods and ghosts are both legendary existences. Under the influence of the propaganda of the Arceus cult and the original national conditions of Wano country, they firmly believe in the existence of gods. Since they believe in gods, they naturally believe in ghosts. The ghost slate has not yet returned to its place, and Wano country has not produced a large number of ghost-type Pokemon. Although Rotom itself has ghost attributes, they were born based on the power of the lightning slate. Those high-tech flying around are more like artificial intelligence, and no one would associate them with this aspect. Moreover, ghost-type Pokemon are seriously polarized. Some can't stand loneliness and think about pranks every day. Rotom is an example. Others are very deep, and the single sword sheath is a representative. For so many years, the two of them have almost been lying on the knife rack, rarely moving, and only in the dead of night will they forage for themselves, eating the fruits and treasures that have been prepared long ago, or the souls purchased from the world. Therefore, there have always been some rumors of haunting in the flower capital. It's just that not many people have seen such things, and they are usually regarded as illusions. Now it's different. This is the grave of Kazuki Oden. Kazuki Oden's sword flies in the sky and cuts people. Not to mention the power, the mental deterrence is already full. As the new regional form of Pokemon, the two single sword sheaths retain the appearance of Yanemo and Shinyuzan, and even inherit some sword skills from the previous master Kazuki Oden. The flying slash just now is an example. They can't exert the power of Oden when he was alive, but for these stronger ordinary people, it is still a massacre. Pokemon has a gentle side, but also has its own violent side. Every year in the Alola region, a large number of people have broken spines because of wearing bear hugs, and there are also many people who are stung by agate jellyfish. But compared with them, Pokemon with ghost attributes often have a greater impact. When everyone was stunned, Yanemo's swordtail suddenly extended a ribbon and entangled a person's wrist. Then the person became thin and dry at a speed visible to the naked eye, almost turning into a skeleton. Yanemo is a demon sword. Even the user will be sucked dry by it and die if he is not careful. Except for Kazuki Oden, Yanemo could not find a suitable user. It seems to have inherited Yanemo's nature as a single sword sheath, which is much more violent than Shinyuzan. After being transformed into a single sword sheath, their master became Arceus. As the creator, Arceus' orders are their duty, and the orders given by Arceus to them also include protecting Kazuki Hiyori's safety. Therefore, when they attacked Kazuki Hiyori, they were locked into the enemy by the single sword sheath. A single eye on the handle of Yanemo opened, revealing a satisfied look. It seemed to prefer the food of fear to the souls purchased from the world. After the man was sucked dry, Yanemo did not let it go. A strange energy overflowed from his body, and he manipulated the corpse to stand up and killed into the crowd like a zombie. Compared to Yanemo, Shinyuzan is much gentler, and the things he did are not so terrible. He just hovered around Kazuki Hiyori, slashing out 2 blows from time to time, clearing the gathered miscellaneous soldiers. It was fulfilling its mission, while Yanemo had already started playing, without releasing any large-scale skills, just swinging and slashing. Since the appearance of Yanemo and Shinyuzan, those who shouted Shimingzi lost their organization. It was not because Yanemo and Shinyuzan were so strong, but Danjiro and others were also crushing them in terms of force, but they dared to shout Shimingzi to rush up and fight with each other. Yanemo and Shinyuzan directly broke their inner perseverance. Even when they were assassinating Kazuki Hiyori, they firmly believed that they were for Wano country and hoped that Wano country could return to orthodoxy. But Kazuki Oden's ghost hit them to pieces. They didn't know what the single sword sheath was. In their eyes, this was Oden's expression of not being able to close his eyes until he died, and he approved of his daughter's behavior. The collapse of faith often happens in an instant. Many people simply gave up resistance and stood there stupidly until Yanemo chopped through their bodies. Then they fell in the snow with confused eyes. Why? Why on earth is this happening? The distorted faith and the cruel reality collided, and the leaders roared unwillingly, cheered up and rushed forward again. Go to hell, you woman, go to hell. But this is only part of it. I'm sorry, we were wrong. We shouldn't question these. I don't want to die here like this. People who fled in panic People who knelt down and begged for forgiveness. All kinds of life were displayed in this group of people. In fact, let alone them, even Denjiro and Kazuki Hiwa couldn't figure out what was going on. Especially Yanemo and Shinu Hansen combined together to use the more powerful Odin two-sword style. As former retainers of Odin, they had all learned swordsmanship from Kazuki Odin. It was obvious at a glance that it was Odin's skill, except that the man wielding the sword was missing. Those who were still fighting were constantly being harvested by Enma and American English no Habazen. Korematsu and the others didn't have to do anything because no one could get past the defense line of the two swords. The fighters fell one after another, and after those who were running away ran a distance, Enma and American English no Habazen did not continue to chase them, but stopped where they were. Ha 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 ha. Denjiro and the others were still hesitating about how to deal with the next thing, but Kazuki Hiyori, who was protected by them, suddenly laughed, with some sadness in her laughter, which gradually turned into madness. Hey, if you are willing to listen to me, can you kill all those people? Except for the few who are kneeling, kill them all without leaving a single one. Lord Hiyori, they may have just been bewitched before. Denjiro, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Enma and American English no Habaki. Let's call them that for now. I'm talking to these two. Those people were also Odin's D-heads in the past. If they attacked Hiyori, Denjiro would of course treat them as enemies and kill several leaders without mercy, but he couldn't bring himself to kill them all, as he felt that these people could still be rescued. He originally wanted to give these people a chance. According to the practice of the beasts, these people would at least be thrown into the mining field to work for more than 10 years, and the rest would wait until the prophecy came. But Hiyori Kazuki's tone made him feel very unfamiliar. She seemed to have become a different person, no longer the Hiyori Kazuki he knew. Chapter 795 Counter-Effect Assassination. Yanemo and Shinu Yuzan were communicating with a unique frequency band. The orders they received did not include obeying the orders of Kazuki Hiyori. Arceus only asked them to properly protect the safety of the target and allow others to use their bodies. In theory, Kazuki Hiyori is now safe, but it is not too much to completely eliminate the danger. Yanemo did not seem to have enough fun. He left the body that was sucked dry by it, cut through the night sky, and slashed at the fleeing crowd. Shinu Yuzan stayed where he was and lay back on the knife rack. People may do many unreasonable things when they are extremely angry, such as running 30 kilometers in one breath, strangling a black bear with a cross, and punching through a steel plate. Of course, these things are not impossible in this world. The assassination of these people also made Kazuki Hiyori enter a state of extreme anger. She did not believe that it was the undead of Kazuki Odin. If there really was such a thing, he should have appeared long ago, instead of waiting until today. She believed that this was some kind of method of the beasts. Her own people wanted to kill her, but the enemy wanted her to live. This ridiculous logic made her not know what to say. Especially those people frequently mentioned Momonosuke. If it was at the beginning, she really wouldn't react so much. At that time, she thought it was a good thing for her brother to leave, which was better than the two of them staying here together. But over time, a sense of inequality would appear in her heart. Especially those rebels seemed to think that they were willing to do so. In this case, using Momonosuke as an analogy would only make her more unbalanced. In a sense, they succeeded. They killed a Hiyori Kazuki, but they killed the good Hiyori. On this basis, a brand new Hiyori Kazuki was born, a Hiyori Kazuki who made a complete choice. Yanemo's massacre continued. As a demon sword, bathing in blood made her stronger, and Hiyori Kazuki came to a person who knelt on the ground and was begging for forgiveness. Whether it was to escape or fight, her choice was to kill, but she showed mercy to those crying people because in her opinion, the collapse of their inner beliefs was the most serious. They couldn't forget what happened today, and the words they spread could further disintegrate the hearts of those who wanted to resist. You guys forced me to do this. As a puppet regime, although she seemed to have no worries about food and clothing, she actually had a huge pressure. Under this high pressure, her mental state was already tense, and now these people pushed her at the last minute, acting as the last straw that broke the camel's back. Should we take Lady Hiyori to see a doctor? I don't think she's doing well. Kikunojo whispered beside a few people. Anyone who saw her like that would think she was abnormal. Kikunojo was worried, Denjiro was sad, and Korematsu was simply angry, anger caused by his inner self-blame. I'll leave this to you. I have to do something. He couldn't tolerate these rebels, so he turned around and followed Yanemo's steps. Oh, boring. Is this the end? On the treetops not far away, Derek was watching a show with a telescope. He thought he could see some entertainment programs during this New Year's festival, but he didn't expect these rebels to be so weak that they didn't even make a wave and were completely destroyed here. This is a perfect end to this year. Who should I start borrowing money from next year? Drake took out his little notebook and began to look for new targets. The ability of the Ronchin cat made her most suitable for this kind of environment. Her X-ray eyes had already looked around and found no hidden enemies. With the abilities of Denjiro and Kikunosuke, it was enough to deal with the next situation, not to mention that Amahabiza was still with Kazuki Hiyori. On Onigashima, Quinn was monitoring his own achievements. He played the leading role in the New Year's festival, and after the carnival on the island started, he began to check the defense mechanism of Wano country and began to score the Shinsengumi teams. The rebels in the cemetery were only a part of it. There were also many who caused unrest and commotion in Wano country. Well, the 5th division is very fast. The captains of the 17th division should be dismissed. They arrived at the scene in 10 minutes. What's the use of them? They are not as useful as Kajiro's dog. It was also a small notebook, but Quinn decided whether these people would be promoted or dismissed with just a few simple strokes. At the same time, he was further improving the monitoring channels in Wano country, striving to have no blind spots on the main roads. Mahaha, CP0, if you have the guts, come to me. I'll see how you can escape my surveillance. Guys, are you ready to enjoy my beautiful dance? Seeing that Wano country had returned to stability, Quinn returned to the big stage of Onigashima again. Today, there was no Tizoro, no Yuta, and no one. Although it was New Year, they were busy with the celebrations outside and had no way to come here. In this case, Quinn completely controlled the stage and became the only protagonist. Unlike the carnival in Onigashima, the celebration in the flower capital had been disrupted. A group of people were locked up in a temporary prison, and many were sent to the hospital for treatment. Those people didn't kill people randomly, but in order to cause a commotion, they set fire and ignited a lot of gunpowder. However, the trampling caused by this also injured many people. Now that the place has just settled down under the maintenance of the Shinsengumi, many people have not figured out what happened. The Squirtles were busy putting out the fire, and Hyagoro was leading people to help clean up the mess, but no matter who they were full of resentment against these arsonists. The good New Year's festival was seriously damaged because of these people. Some relatives and friends were also injured because of this. On the other hand, the main target, Kazuki Hiyori, almost turned black, while the other target, Kajiro, was unscathed. Several slash commanders were wiping the blood on their arms with handkerchiefs. After Kajiro got their recognition, he became the general they protected. These people couldn't break through the defense circle of slash commander at all, not to mention that there was Zyaoka next to him. The combination of wind speed dog and slash commander solved everything without Kajiro's action. The riots started by these people lasted less than an hour. Apart from destroying the atmosphere of the New Year festival, they had almost no effect. Instead, they led to the darkening of Hiyori Kazuki. She was originally forced to act as a puppet regime, and she was somewhat reluctant in her heart, but now, she has completely entered a state of slacking off. The first decree that needed a seal in the new year was about the riots last night. Hiyori Kazuki not only cooperated very well, but also gave some suggestions of her own. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 796. You can't affair with a darkened woman. Damn it, these bastards. Do they have to cause trouble on this day? Last night was destined to be a sleepless night. As the leader of the Shinsengumi, Hotori faced the biggest crisis since he took office. Last night's unrest caused several stampedes in some blocks of the flower capital. Due to timely rescue and the generally strong physique of the people here, there were no casualties, but there were countless injured. Coupled with the consequences of the fire and gunpowder explosion, a series of problems made Hotei very worried. Where are the people? Have they all been arrested? They should have been arrested. Team leader Hotei. There are many people involved this time, and we can't figure out how many participants there were at the time. In fact, it's not just Hotei who has resentment about this. The people of the Shinsengumi are almost the same. From yesterday to now, these people have not been able to rest, and have been dealing with these things. Thinking of what Koga Greninja said before, Hotei suddenly felt that the other party was hinting at him at the time, but he didn't understand the true meaning. Then pry open their mouths. Make them hand over their accomplices. After getting angry with his subordinates, Hotei came to Jin and acted like he was being scolded. Good news, your position as the leader of the Shinsengumi is saved, and the higher-ups are quite satisfied with your work. Jin's words made him feel relieved. As long as he didn't lose his current position, other problems would be acceptable. It seemed that his strict requirements on his subordinates were still meaningful. But Jin threw the list compiled by Quinn in front of him. What should I do? I don't need to teach you, right? Yes, please leave it to me. After a quick glance, he saw that several people who were usually lazy were all on the list. He already understood that this was a list of promotions and emotions, and the specifics of what to do had already been decided. But after Hotei left, something happened that even Jin didn't expect. Brother Jin, Hiyori Kazuki wants to see you. It seems that she has something to discuss with you. Derek poked his head in from the door and reported what had just happened. In name, the general's official is a special position that serves the general, but in fact, the situation here is just the opposite. Jin is the one who actually holds power. Kazuki Hiyori? Well, she seems to have some opinions about what happened last night. Do you want to see her? The handling of this matter has actually been decided long ago. The leader will be killed, and the accomplices will be taken to the mines. This is already an old routine. Kazuki Hiyori's desire to make suggestions really aroused Jin's curiosity. Let her wait, I'll go find her in a while. This is a rare face she has for the general. When there is something, at least Jin goes to her instead of her going to Jin. Do you think this punishment is too light? Yes, Lord Jin, this treatment will not have any effect. I have a better suggestion, and the citizens also need an explanation. This is a new notice I wrote. What do you think? Jin took the document from Kazuki Hiyori's hand, and his expression under the mask became slightly complicated. The original draft of the notice was that there were thugs trying to assassinate the general, which caused unrest, but Kazuki Hiyori was more ruthless in this regard. She repositioned those thugs, not just ordinary thugs and traitors, but linked them to the rebellion of the Kurazumi family, and changed the simple opposition to her into opposition to this Kazuki. She is now the only Kazuki bloodline in Wano country, so naturally she has the final say, and her change is to completely wipe out those people on the spiritual level. Just this one sentence can make these people never raise their heads in Wano country again. She is the first female general, and opposing her will not cause too much waves, but when the level rises to the Kazuki clan, the result is completely different. And I think this time is too short. Since these people have the strength to start a rebellion, they should dig mines for the rest of their lives, so that they don't have the strength to mess around. She has no mercy in her heart for these accomplices who want to kill her own people. As long as this notice is sent out, it means that she has completely broken with this part of the group. But she has not cared about this matter since last night. For this suggestion, Jin has no reason to veto it. Let Kazuki Hiyori and himself deal with it, and he will bring the situation here back to Onigashima. They have the ability to strangle those rebels in advance, but Arceus made the decision to conduct an exercise. So far, it seems that the exercise has achieved good results and even triggered some hidden conditions. At this time, Hiyori Kazuki was publicly making a statement about the riots last night. While comforting the injured, she also strongly condemned the behavior of those people and nailed them to the pillar of shame of Wano country like Kurazumi Orochi. Killing people and destroying their hearts. Women are really cruel when they are ruthless. Simple death cannot completely scare those who give up their brains because of their reputation. But what Hiyori Kazuki did is to strangle the hope in their hearts and make them live in condemnation and infamy. For such people, living like this is even more painful than death, and they have successfully attracted the hatred of the people. People who experienced the riots last night are full of curses at them. Even Jin sighed slightly, that she was ruthless. That's true. When those women get ruthless, they're all crazy. Thinking of his own experience, Quinn agreed with Jin's words. After all, women like Shaina and Setsuna had caused him a lot of harm, sometimes comparable to Kaido. But there are exceptions. At least Miss Yamato doesn't have this tendency. Then you'd better pray you won't see that day. She's the daughter of brother Kaido. If she gets really ruthless, patting Quinn's shoulder, Jin left here and returned to the palace of the flower capital. That's not right. Even if she gets really ruthless, why would she use me as a training ground? Quinn, who realized it late, roared at the sky and then returned to his laboratory. His flowers had already sprouted, which was a very good start. The direct impact of this assassination was basically over, but the indirect impact continued. The remaining people were imprisoned in the rabbit bowl mining field, including those who saw the killing scene of Yanemo and Shinyu. Because of the mental stimulation, their descriptions of the incident were slightly different, but in the end they were all similar, and they could not avoid the word ghost of Odin. After a while, some people were really shaken. If even Odin recognized these things, it meant that all this was the best result. In addition, the domestic environment was getting better and better. This assassination activity accelerated the speed of the inner collapse of some stubborn people. Chapter 797, The Strange Political System of Wano Country, The Spade Pirates. Odin's ghost has gradually become a well-known supernatural event in Wano Country. Except for Kazuki Hiyori, the more familiar people are with Odin, the more they think this is reasonable. After Kazuki Odin ended his weird way of playing, his goal was to make Wano Country better. Except that the country has not been completely opened. Everything in Wano Country is countless times better than it was more than a decade ago. Reasonable industrialization will not damage the environment, but can greatly improve people's livelihood. What's more, there are unscientific creatures such as Pokemon. Wano Country has truly embarked on the road of green development. After the New Year's festival, the time has come to 1517, which can be said to be an ode time for Wano Country, because starting this year, their generals have changed. No longer the puppet who is only responsible for stamping, he will even take the initiative to put forward some constructive opinions. But these opinions are not so friendly to those who still believe in prophecies. Denjiro once hinted to Hiyori about this, but got an answer that made him speechless. I don't want to be labeled a criminal for no reason, nor do I want to be killed for no reason. At the same time, the traditions of Wano Country have also changed. Here, under the closed-door environment, unique customs have been formed, including the gods they believe in. The original religious development of Wano Country has not been unified. Although those local gods are not as good as the emerging Pokemon, they are also orthodox. It's just that this year, Kazuki Hiyori made a big change, and even the temple behind the general's palace was replaced with the statue of Arceus. The assassination made her completely stand on the opposite side of the conservative forces, and her heart of slacking off began to retaliate. Since they didn't want her to live, she didn't want to make them feel comfortable. Lord Holy Beast, you see, there are more pilgrims. At the top of the Sky Island above Wano Country, Arceus and Shaina were looking down at the top of Fujiyama Mountain, and they could also see many Wano people climbing the mountain. Arceus came here just to observe the living environment of the Tanabata bluebird, but he didn't expect to find some different changes. Your decision is indeed correct. Since the New Year festival ended, Hiyori Kazuki has changed from passive cooperation to active cooperation. Abel also said that he has been relieved recently. There was no one around. Only Tanabata Bluebird and Blue Cotton Bird could hear them talking, so Shaina didn't care about those things. Is that right? Arceus didn't have any comments on this. He just wanted to do an exercise, but the result was exaggerated. The pilgrims were mostly young people, but with the words of the general, some hesitant elderly people began to change. They were originally entangled in reality and tradition. Now that the general has spoken, everything has a reasonable explanation. This is also the reason for maintaining a puppet regime. The general has a deep influence on Wano Country. Arceus is not a devil. As long as he doesn't touch the bottom line, He is also a kind person and doesn't want to carry out that kind of bloody cleanup. Originally, Arceus thought that this transformation would be completed in a while, but he didn't expect it to be so much earlier. According to the information summarized by Jin, Hiyori Kazuki suggested redefining the royal power system of Wano country and creating a system of divine right of kings. It's just too early to do so. The changes now are big enough. Many things have to be done little by little. At this time, the regime of Wano country is very special. It is similar to a religious country, but religion is not the actual ruler. Theocracy and actual royal power are so harmoniously combined. There is no other country like it. Shaina, tell Misu not to make such a big move. There is no point in making such a big move in Wano country. Misu must have intervened in religious matters. Although she is a nun, what she did is almost the same as the Pope. Yes, I understand. Arceus didn't have any opinion on this matter in the past. The advice given at this time made Shaina stunned for a while, but then she figured it out. The meaning of the existence of the Arceus cult is not to collect beliefs, but to let more people collect stone tablets. After so many years in Wano country, it has been confirmed that there are no other stone tablets here. Therefore, the benefits of making a big move in Wano country are not high. The speed of preaching in the outside world should be accelerated, and believers should search for more information about stone tablets, so that it will be valuable to Arceus. Misu had told her before that Tiger was also doing missionary activities during his travels, but it was ineffective. Few people were willing to listen to the fishman's preaching. She just wanted to leave Wano country, so it seemed that this could be brought forward. The caiman were gradually breeding, and the Millennium Dragon tribe had some new cubs. In the sky, you could see the onion duck exercising. The huge onion leaves were tied behind them with ropes, and then they flew with weights. If they held the onion, the weight would make them lose their balance and unable to fly. It looked like just an ordinary onion, but the onion was so heavy that even Zaozi had to hold it with both hands, which showed its weight. The giant forger was fighting wits and courage with the commander slash and the steel armored crow every day. The good and bad stars were eating the surrounding corals. The Magikarp were bumping on the sea. The carters also went to various seas to perform tasks. In the process, they would do different things according to their preferences. Time has not changed the nature of the sea. It is still that turbulent era. The new year means a new beginning, and it also means encountering more pirates. Time flies, and a few months have passed in a flash. Both the Navy and the pirates have absorbed a lot of fresh blood. In the Sabaody archipelago, another group of newcomers arrived in this sea area. The brand new pirate flag fluttered on the flagpole, with a skull painted on the background of spades, and two patterns with completely opposite expressions and a flame emblem on the skull. This year's supernova, Fire Fist Ace, has completed the first half of his voyage, and arrived at the outpost of the New World. Hey, Ace. We are about to reach Sabaody. Really? We are finally here, so let's rush into the New World in one go. Standing on the bow, Ace was full of confidence and full of endless expectations for the future, but before he could further shout out his goal, the crew had already poured cold water on him. Don't think about it. Entering the New World requires coating and passing through Fishman Island. We will be delayed for at least 3 days. The speaker was Scare, a pirate enthusiast who claimed to be a collector and a collector of skull peripherals. They have traveled to various ports around the world on various ships. Scarrow has made great contributions to the Spade Pirates' arrival here. During the day, a child touched the background of my computer. If you see strange replies or some comments disappear, it's not me. Chapter 798. This year's newcomers are even stranger. A man wearing a skull mask is telling Ace and others about what to pay attention to before entering the New World. A dozen people plus a lynx make up the current Spade Pirates. In terms of the number of people, it is also a small pirate group, and it also brings together all kinds of interesting people. Scar is such a weirdo, wearing a skull mask and various skull patterns on his body. He is a collector of skull peripherals, and was not originally a pirate. It's just that in this era of great pirates, he is so obsessed with the pirate group, that he always sneaks into various pirate ships. Those pirates are not fools. Scar is often discovered, but his luck has always been good. Not all pirates have persecution delusions like Quinn, and they are checking unknown people every day. They often catch some people, to do odd jobs on the ship, and sometimes they directly absorb them as their minions. It is also his ability that Scar has survived smoothly. Through this way, he has reached one port after another, and has a rich understanding of the world. Most of the pirates seem to think that he was just a busybody, useless except for doing odd jobs. Only Ace didn't think so. In the end, he joined the Spade Pirates, aiming to be the world's #1 intelligence expert, and officially became a pirate. Will we be delayed for 3 days? I wonder if the food here is delicious. Ace, who was still worried in the last second, said a slightly strange remark the next moment, but the people in the Spade Pirates didn't find it strange, but got used to it. There is a regular port on the Sabaody archipelago, but it has nothing to do with the Spade Pirates. After all, they are pirates. At this time, Scar is telling the crew to pay attention. After all, there are all kinds of people here. If they are targeted by the Navy, bounty hunters, or colleagues with bad intentions, I'm afraid they won't care about the coating. The Navy and bounty hunters, world nobles and human traffickers. There are too many things that can cause trouble here. Before the coating is completed, don't cause trouble for me, especially you please, Boss Ace. Finally, Scar's eyes stayed on Ace and solemnly instructed him. Although Ace looked solemn, the focus was not on him at all. Now he was more concerned about whether the great buns were delicious. Teacher, the ship is in your hands. The crew members were preparing to leave the ship one after another. The man called the teacher was named Mahil. He didn't like to go out and stayed on the ship most of the time. He was originally a teacher, but there were no children in the place where he taught, and he was the only one who stayed there. He dreamed of crossing the ocean and going to the children in the world who could not receive education. Because only Ace supported his dream for so many years, he stepped out of his original comfort zone and joined the Spade Pirates. Scar was still worried about Ace, but he had no chance. Sailing is hard, and it is the captain's duty to comfort the crew. Leave the job of finding food to me, Ace said without stopping, and jumped off the side of the ship and headed straight for the Sabaody archipelago. Looking at Ace going away, the remaining crew members were left looking at each other in bewilderment. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared in the mangroves. The captain went to collect food for the crew, and Deuce, the deputy captain, did his real work. This was his pen name. He was originally a second-generation noble and a medical student in a country, but he started his new life for various reasons. While looking for a coating craftsman, they found a white-haired old man. Are you the captain? No, I'm not. I'm just an agent. The captain was attracted by the fragrance as soon as he docked. Haha, it turns out that captains are casual people, no matter what era. Yeah, some will say that fate is the key to dragging people to become pirates. Are you a pirate too? It happened a long time ago. I got on the ship for some insignificant reasons. It was such a long journey. I think I will get along well with you in the future. Do you need coating? I can give you a discount. Really? Thank you very much. What's your name, Uncle? I can't keep calling you that. Just call me Rayleigh. Deuce was finalizing the issue of the ship's coating. At this time, he didn't realize who this seemingly ordinary uncle in front of him was. Intelligence work has never been his forte. On the other side, as expected, Ace encountered some troubles. He's eating a free meal. Stop. Stop him. That guy is running over there. The staff of several shops joined together to hunt down some people who ate without paying, and in front of them, Ace was running away. It's not that he didn't want to pay, but he didn't bring his wallet with him when he went out, and he ended up like this. The people who followed him the most were a few people with fruit patterns on their clothes. Hey, I will pay. Just wait until I find my wallet. Stop it. This is the Sabaody archipelago. Where can we find you if you run away? The fleeing Ace and the chasing waiter became a unique landscape, and also attracted the attention of many people. Sister Iska, it seems that the people in front are ours. Do you want to help them? At this time, at the door of the senbei shop, Iska was purchasing a large number of great senbei souvenirs. Every carder who passed by Sabaody had this habit of buying something to take back. As the current No. 7, Iska also has her own ship and exclusive team. This time she came to Sabaody to perform some religious tasks. The person who asked her was Lamy. Due to a series of recent adjustments by the cult of Arceus, Some religious personnel have also begun to go out, and Lammy is an example. The overall strength is ordinary, but few people can hurt her. The body of a Lolamud is an alternative natural system, and ordinary physical attacks can't hurt her at all. Those with fruit patterns on their chests are naturally employees of the beast fruit, and only they can rank among the top among many debt collectors. Let's go and see. Wait, that guy's asleep? At this time, Ace was blocked in a dead corner under layers of siege, but the next situation was unbelievable. After he was surrounded on a bench in the park, he fell asleep directly. This sleep made the debt collectors confused. They have seen all kinds of people in shampoo, but this is the first time they have seen such a weird one. In the end, the crew who came to save him, his crew found Ace's wallet on the deck, and guessed what was going to happen. With the apologies of the crew, the clerks took the money and left there, and Isuka took his people to the slums of Shampoo. Chapter 799, The Inheritance of the Beast Tradition, the True God in the Field of Microorganisms. The Sabaody Archipelago is the only way for the pirates to reach the New World. Even if the legal groups want to pass through the Red Earth continent, they have to come here first, because the office of the world government is also located here. 7 routes intersect, and it should be a very prosperous place. In fact, it is true. The economy here is highly developed, and a large number of tourists come here every year. But there are also slums in such places. As the darkness under the prosperous feet, everything here seems out of place, but it conforms to the characteristics of the Sabaody Archipelago, the offices of the world government, the naval base, the illegal zone, and the human trafficking industry. It is hard to believe that these institutions can be on the same island. Sometimes they are just separated by a wall, but they are two completely different worlds. And the reason why they come to the slums is also very simple: to absorb manpower and expand believers. Compared with people who live a rich life, people in the slums are more likely to have hope. Although they have experienced despair and are more wary of the world, as long as they can have faith, their faith is also the most loyal. Move everything here, move faster. The composition of the beast's pirates is now very complicated. Under Arceus rules, it has become much more difficult to join this pirate group. Those who can accept the group rules are assigned to different units according to their personalities after joining. When a person is promoted to a cadre with a single-digit number, he is eligible to select personnel according to his own preferences and form his own direct fleet. These are the personnel selected by Isuka. The cadres have different preferences. Jack only wants strength. Mandafesh values family situation and prefers to absorb people with families. Drake looks at the eye, and Isuka looks at the bottom line of the person. The pirates under her are the most orderly and relatively kind group of people. In other words, these people are more like explorers. At this time, they are like a relief organization, bringing supplies to the slums here, and the first step to come here is to fight first. Even in the slums, there is a lot of oppression here. The local snakes rely on their fists to intimidate the weaker people, exploit their interests from them, and live a good life in this bottom society. Get out of the way. What are you doing? Do you feel a sense of accomplishment in beating up an old man? Let's try it. The kindness of these people is relative. There are few people who can't be beaten when sailing on this sea. They drove out the people who originally ruled this block in a few moves. They are bullies and cowards. When faced with people who are stronger than themselves, they simply choose to run away and find their own backers. If they want to gain a foothold in Shampoo, they must either have extremely strong power or be able to get in touch with other people. Of course, with the support of the 100 beasts, Isuka and others are not afraid of revenge afterwards. Rami, I'll leave it to you to organize it. You are better at this than me. Okay, leave it to me. This year, Rami is already 18 years old. In addition to her hair color, her face has grown up. She looks 80% similar to the feminized Luo. As a religious staff of the Arceus cult, her mission is to spread religion, while Isuka is to collect children of the right age. This is also the consistent style of the beasts. Initially, their core members came from all over the world, but in recent years, the grassroots cadres are almost all orphans who have been raised by themselves. They may not be strong enough, but they are loyal enough and more trustworthy. Olga used to do this. She didn't mind doing this kind of thing on the way, but she didn't want to make a special trip every once in a while, so she has handed it over to Isuka, who happened to like children very much. "Grandpa, can you show me your leg? Your wound should be quite serious." Rami walked in front of the person who had just been beaten, but he didn't show a relaxed look, still looking at Rami vigilantly. The composition of the slums here is very complicated. Encountering a shipwreck and drifting here, being abducted and successfully escaping, and then being trapped here, or during the journey, relatives were unfortunately killed by celestial dragons or pirates, and finally stayed here. Many people's hearts are closed. Even if they are given food and medicine, they will not easily trust each other. Because it is a slum, no one cares about their life or death, and those slave traders often visit here. "Look, I'm just an ordinary girl who wants to help you treat your wound." As she spoke, she opened her medicine box, revealing the scalpel and gauze inside, but strangely, there were no other medicines inside. Because of his appearance, the old man relaxed his vigilance and lifted up his torn clothes little by little, revealing the wound with pus underneath. "A few days ago, a doctor saw me and said that the only way to save his life was to amputate. Occasionally, some kind-hearted people would pass by here, but he did not accept this treatment method. Here, losing a leg was no different from death. Don't be afraid, Grandpa, it can be handled." As she spoke, Lamy put her hand directly on it, turning into colorful poisonous mud to wrap the wound. She is the ability user of a lala stinky mud, but her application of ability is not only poison. There are countless viruses and bacteria in the body of a lala stinky mud. These viruses and bacteria can combine into deadly toxins, and can also kill other viruses and bacteria. Through continuous training of her own abilities and the intake of external knowledge, Lamy gradually learned to control different microorganisms in her body. Moreover, this ability is still under development. Even Quinn has not figured out how many permutations and combinations of microorganisms there are in the body of a Lala stinky mud. She used her ability to clean the monastery before, and now she is cleaning the harmful substances in the body of the injured. In the field of microorganisms, she is a god. All this is based on her understanding of medicine. Misu has taught her a lot of things, but she is most interested in medicine. She herself doesn't understand why, but she has a sense of intimacy when learning similar knowledge. The microorganisms in the body of the stinky mud became special nanorobots under her control, and they successfully killed the germs after combination. This is why she never brings medicine. She will make the special medicine she needs according to the situation. In a few minutes, she had achieved her goal, and then used her ability to complete the anesthesia, remove the rotten flesh, and resuture the wound. It's okay now. Just rest for a few days. Don't touch the gauze. I've treated it specially. It won't cause inflammation. Thank you. You're welcome. This is the Lord's will. The Lord's glory is expanding. Believe in the Lord and you will be away from the pain. As a trainee nun, Lamy began her first missionary work. Judging from the light in the old man's eyes, the effect should be very good. With the help of the old man, a local, Lamy began to spread the ideas of the Arceus cult, and helped others heal their bodies, while attracting more people to listen to her teachings. Isuka was looking for children who were not well versed in the world, and used food to win their favor. Some adults even saw this, and sold their children to her. All this was seen by Ace and Deuce who passed by here. Deuce, could that be a human trafficker? Chapter 800 Ace and Deuce. Not long ago, Deuce, who found the coating craftsman, brought him back to the spade eel. The coating process takes at least 3 days, but this does not mean that the coating craftsman has to work for 3 consecutive days. It is just that one process must be repeated many times within 3 days, and wait for the processed resin to change. After that, it was discovered that Ace's wallet was lost and was being chased by the vendors on the island. In order to avoid more trouble, the spade pirates asked Deuce to keep an eye on Ace. "Boss Deuce, please don't let Boss Ace cause any trouble." Scarrel's words still echoed in Deuce's mind. It is not easy to keep an eye on Ace. This is an unreliable captain who can sleep while eating, and he is very free in his heart. After the free meal incident, Ace came to the soap bubble paradise. This is a simple way to distinguish the nature of pirates. Pirates who tend to be adventurer groups have a strong interest in the soap bubble paradise. After arriving at the Sabaody archipelago, and the purer pirates usually hang out in illegal areas and gradually intersect with the undercurrents here. But the reason why Ace came here was because he saw Juice's interest in the Ferris wheel. In the end, the two of them got on the Ferris wheel's cabin and arrived at the top as the mechanical gears turned. The cabin made of soap bubbles reflected colorful light. Looking down at the Sabaody archipelago from a high place, you can see a special beauty. What a big rhinoceros beetle. Oh, that one. My brother has one, and those rhinoceros beetles are very smart. Juice also saw a flash of Heracross, which gave Ace a new topic. Every time he talked about his brother, he could always talk for half a day. Ace was talking about the past, while Juice was writing and drawing in his notebook, recording what he saw and heard along the way, and writing his own articles. A very big tree. A super island. Something like a fluttering soap bubble. Can you take me, who can only speak super powerfully and is at a loss for words, to a distant place? Can I, who has been floating like a rootless duckweed for thousands of years, live on the roots of that tree? Of course you can. Yes, Sabaody. Don't read it out loud. What does it matter? You've already written it out. Listening to Ace reading out what he had written and suppressing his laughter, Juice felt a little embarrassed and hurriedly closed his notebook. After a while of playing around, Ace started his foraging journey again. During this process, he also encountered some bounty hunters and pirates. At this time, no one in the New World knew who he was, but as a supernova in the Sabaody archipelago, he was still well known. They either wanted to use him to become famous, or wanted to exchange him for a bounty, but no matter what their purpose was, they were defeated by Ace. Really, don't these guys find it annoying? After all, you are also a celebrity, and the name of Fire Fist Ace is also well known. Hey, kid, put your things down. In the previous battle, they put down their packages, and Ace's things were naturally all kinds of food. Now Juice saw a few children rummaging through the things in it. After being discovered, they ignored Juice's shouts, but picked up the things, and turned around and ran away. In the process of running away, they even tore open the packaging and stuffed them into their mouths. They are members of the slums. It is not easy to survive in the slums of Sabaody. It is okay to have parents or adults, but people like them can only find ways to be self-reliant. It is impossible to survive by relying on the charity of others. Helping others and acting as a tour guide are more reasonable means. Some people choose to join local gangs, and under the ravages of life, they gradually change from being oppressed to oppressing others. Joining a gang means participating in the battle. Many people are unwilling to take that risk, but this does not mean that they will abide by the law. That does not exist in such a place. When survival becomes difficult, reason becomes irrelevant. They will steal and fish in troubled waters. In order to survive, they will seize every opportunity. Conflicts on the Sabaody archipelago are happening all the time, and this is also their best opportunity. While Ace and Deuce were fighting, they stole a lot of food. Deuce is now a member of the pirates, so he will naturally not watch the other party do this, but Ace stopped him. Deuce, forget it. Huh. Ace, those little devils stole our things. It's uncomfortable to be hungry. It's just a little food. Let's go. Follow them and see. Ace didn't seem unhappy, but carried the food and followed. Seeing his actions, Deuce shook his head helplessly and had guessed what he wanted to do. Those children were very familiar with the terrain of Sabaody. With the cover of the red trees, they quickly disappeared in the crowd, but this did not get rid of Ace and the others. The two of them continued to follow them slowly until they reached the slums. In stark contrast to the bustling central street, this place was shrouded in a gloomy atmosphere. There was garbage scattered everywhere around, and everywhere you looked were dilapidated buildings like ruins. Seeing that there were outsiders coming here, people on the street hid one after another. Ace even saw the children who had just stolen his food, who were secretly watching them in the shadows of the houses. He did not scold them, but took the initiative to distribute the food he had brought to them. After a while of entanglement, the hungry people still couldn't resist the temptation and came out one by one. Don't steal next time. You can't always be so lucky. Ace patted a child on the head, but he didn't respond. He bowed to Ace and left. He can't talk. Huh. He and I escaped together. Those people thought he was too noisy and cut off his tongue. The people who stayed here explained to Ace on behalf of the child who left. Then Ace asked curiously, aren't there many people here usually? No, but today a group of people came to the street. They distributed food for free and treated people. Isn't that great? Why don't you go? Those people said that, as long as they follow them, they will always have food in the future and someone will teach them to read. Only those stupid kids will believe it. He was talking about Isuka and his group. They didn't go, because they suspected the other party's purpose. After approaching, Ace found that these people were already half-grown boys. Long-term malnutrition made him mistake them for children. Ace also wanted to give them some money to improve their lives, but they were all rejected. As for why they don't want money, that kind of thing is meaningless to them. Taking money will only bring danger to themselves. The food they eat is the most valuable thing. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.